Welcome to the regular meeting of the South Haven City Council for Monday, April 15th, 2024. This meeting is called to order, and we'll have a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, could we have a roll call, please?
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Mary Hosley.
Here.
Wendy Onuki.
Here.
Joe Reeser.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Annie Brown.
Here. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor say yes. Oh, discussion.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify for agenda item 11 that what we had requested was information to have steps to introduce a lifeguard program. So it's not a lifeguard, not a presentation of a lifeguard program, but steps to start looking into that.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? It is now time for public comment for items on the agenda, excluding items scheduled for public hearing. You have up to 5 minutes.
Came up fast. Hello, everyone. Nancy Nat 125 Elkenberg. I'm here tonight to talk about agenda item 11. The motion Heather Johnson volunteered to address is as follows. Quote, ask Heather Johnson to gather information from experts of what a draft plan would include for steps to reintroduce lifeguards to South and North Beach in the city of South Haven, and to share that with the City Council at the April 15th meeting. Heather has accomplished this objective. Many concerned citizens like myself, who are well aware that there is no immediate emergency response on our beaches, resulting in drownings, came together with a united mission to reinstate lifeguards to the beaches of South Haven. We hope to work with the city and to help develop an outline and start the ball rolling for a lifeguard program. Heather has spent hundreds of hours researching, talking to experts around the country, talking with experts who have the most knowledge about the Great Lakes, especially Lake Michigan, looking at charts, and tirelessly pulling together the PowerPoint presentation you will be seeing this evening. To facilitate her research, she reached out to Kate Hosier for the information that Kate had gathered from her aforementioned comments at the priority and city council meetings. 2 weeks after Heather's request, Kate responded in a brief email stating to Heather, the previous lifeguard program was under the city's leisure service director, a position that no longer exists. City's liability carrier is not able to be interviewed by the public. Last update on parking fees is in 2017 with a link to provide the documentation. And Kate mentioned she had preliminary conversations about radios, new equipment being required for police officers, and her last comment in her email was, I'm curious what steps other municipalities have taken to implement a lifeguard program, and I look forward to your report. Signed, Kate Hosier. This email did not address all the information that Kate had coming across her desk regarding lifeguards. Heather did not hear again from Kate. Last Friday afternoon, the CC updated their agenda packet. Kate did not alert Heather beforehand, and with the more information she had to share. Instead, the 11 pages she provided to the City Council had to be given to Heather, not by Kate, but by others. This is not a cooperative way for the city to work with the community. Once again, in the last hours, Heather had to pull together information from experts and is able to answer the questions and concerns Kate had and she will when you ask her of those questions tonight. Some of other experts are here tonight to address those issues as well. Now to the outline. The outline being presented by Heather is a viable lifeguard solution program for the city. City Council should begin to take the steps that you were empowered with and ask that a lifeguard program be implemented by our city staff. Members of City Council, you have the power to move this forward. Listen to us. There's no hidden agenda with this group. We've asked for nothing other than for you to listen and take action. The time is now. The City Council can do this. We can save lives on our beaches. Make this an actionable priority
minute.
tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robin Abshire. Some of you may know me. I was the former Leisure Services Director and Harbor Master for the city of South Haven for a period of over 14 years. In 2019, there was an article in the South Haven Tribune dated, "City Hears Pitch to Bring Back Lifeguards." At that time, I was compelled to express what I know about this subject. I submit my comments and concerns as a former Leisure Services Director and Harbor Master and a two-time recipient of the National Water Safety Congress Award of Merit in recognition of outstanding efforts, accomplishments, and contributions to water safety. Here's some historical perspective. Years ago, prior to the city eliminating the lifeguard program, which was my responsibility at the time, they conducted a lot of research to determine if eliminating the program was indeed the right thing to do. The research included many meetings, many public hearings with several outside experts involved. One such expert was a professor from Penn State University, but unfortunately I can't remember his name. He was considered a water safety expert because he had designed lifeguard stands, written many articles about water safety, and conducted several conferences related to this topic. Additionally, the city involved their legal counsel. The city also recognized that the state of Michigan Department of Natural Resources actions were to eliminate their lifeguard program in 1993. And after eliminating the lifeguard program, the state had statistics that showed the drownings had decreased. All this former effort should be available in the city's archive files. I'd hate to see the city go through this effort again. As I mentioned, the article was back in 2019. 5 years later, we're still spending time, money, and effort discussing this topic. And it is of my opinion that the city has absolutely took the right action back then to eliminate the program. I think the city's been very prudent and vigilant in their water safety efforts to keep the public safe by installing the signs, by installing the flags, by adding the throw rings, and even putting in the callback boxes on the pier. And that took a lot of logistics because there's multiple jurisdictions involved with the piers. So they've been very prudent in their efforts. I do recall as a Leisure Services Director, when the lifeguard program was still in effect, one of the biggest complaints was that parents would drop their children off and use the lifeguard program as a babysitting service, and they would completely leave the beach. And I've had parents admit that they've done this. So, additionally, another problem, and I imagine it would be today as well, was it was becoming extremely difficult to find qualified staff to fill the lifeguard positions. Historically, lifeguards were young individuals still in high school. That's a tremendous amount of responsibility for such a young individual. From a legal position, I believe it was determined that the city was less liable in the event of a drowning without lifeguards being present. It's also important to note that lifeguards didn't have the authority, and I still believe they don't have the authority, to keep people out of the water on red flag days. NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmosphere
minute.
Administration, to mention one of the agencies, has published many articles about the Great Lakes and the high water conditions and how difficult it is to accurately predict Lake Michigan and the Great Lake conditions. Water safety has been a high priority in my life, starting when I got my WSI, water safety instructor, and my CPR and life-saving certificate back in high school. It will always be a high priority as a resident of South Haven, an active boater, and a fisherman. Having said that, I do believe that the city of South Haven has done an excellent job attempting to keep this public safe while visiting here. I'm also of the belief that education is the key. The more everyone understands about the Great Lakes, the safer they will be.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Wagaman, 606 Phillips Street. I just wanted to make a comment about the social district. As the executive director of the South Haven Area Chamber of Commerce, I just want to let you know that we have not received complaints, and we haven't had anyone reach out to us. We have 444 members. Many of them are in the downtown central business district, but we have not had people reaching out with complaints or concerns about the social district. If anything, we've heard positive comments. One thing, though, that we did observe during the Icebreaker Festival was we'd love to see the boundaries be a little better outlined. I think it was a little confusing for some people, especially with it having been new, that they weren't real certain on where they could and could not take their beverages. So otherwise, we've not had any problems with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Good evening, City Council members, community of South Haven, city officials. My name is Tona LaPlante. I am an old but new resident soon. I'm traveling from the south to come back to this area to do what I love. 23 years ago, I walked off North and South Beach as one of your last lifeguards. I've been waiting for an opportunity to stand in front of the people that I believe have the choice to make a difference. Since my time of becoming a lifeguard, I got the opportunity in Covert High School, where I had a whole plethora of knowledge on community, on culture, on our area. When I became a lifeguard, I didn't just take a pledge to watch the water. I took a pledge as a public service individual. As lifeguards, I did much more than guard those beaches. I helped lost children find their parents. I attended to bee stings. I encouraged people when I was out and about to watch the flags, to listen to the guards, because I did have the authority to remove them and did so when needed. Preventing drownings is a layer of safeties, whether that is in a pool or whether that is in this beautiful recreation that we have behind us. That one lifeguard class not only drove my passion to serve our community and to be something of a police officer or fireman. I'm not that, but I was still a first responder because the lifeguards are still very much a part of the chain of survival. I have thus gone on to lifeguard across the country, be an activist for water safety, start my own backyard swim lessons, and volunteer for countless fundraising and organizations that deal with water safety, whether that's been from Tough Mudder to the Steelhead in St. Joe, where I volunteered my time and services to make sure people got in and out of the water safely. I don't know what I can say today to break your hearts for what breaks mine, in the sense of I never want to have to tell another family that their child is not coming home. And unfortunately, when I first started lifeguard training, it was if this happens to you. Now, when I get recertified, it is a when this happens. We never remember the number that we save. It is always the ones that we don't that we never forget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barb Fish, and I live at 250 Kalamazoo Street. And truthfully, I wasn't planning on speaking. I was more planning on listening to a presentation on it. But I have to speak, especially after the last person, too. My daughter went to high school with a guy. We had just picked them up after their Spanish cultural trip, well, to Spain. And it was the same week of July 4th, and we were out here. And he didn't come out with us, but he came out with his sister, and this was 2006. And I remembered the beach that day because my family was here, and we had a wonderful afternoon, but the weather changed, and the waves got worse. And this guy who played soccer, very active, very inexperienced to South Haven and the beach. He was out here very few times, and he was with a stronger guy. He was a junior, about to be a senior, and the senior was just graduating. Anyway, they came to where we were sitting, and my daughter took a walk with them, and this is when the weather was getting worse, and there was an individual in front of me drinking, and I was focused on him too. It was scary just watching because the waves were getting worse, and the sky didn't look real well, and we decided we're going to leave. And my daughter had taken a walk. Well, I noticed that this kid looked tired. You know, he was running around all day. He was just having a good time. And when they got closer, going toward the pier, he wanted to go in. Well, they were going to go in because their friends were on the north side of the pier, and the friends were all on the other side, on South Pier. Anyway, I don't know why I had that worry. I hope he doesn't go in and think that they can swim around. You know, I don't know. It just scared me. And the one guy was so much bigger. And I'm telling you this, and it's breaking my heart as I say it, because it was this, you know, I felt the worry. But anyway, my son ran to get my daughter and to say we're leaving. And the two of the guys went on, and they had talked about going in near the pier. And my daughter said she lived here because we had lived here when my kids were little for 5 years, and my son, as 7 years old, got stuck, you know, but it wasn't that far out, and a group of people renting came down, and it was just two of them, and they did one of those chain where they took the hands and were able to get them. That was my first experience because I was from Pittsburgh area. I did not grow up around the big lake. And anyway, we left. We no sooner got to town and heard all the whistles and the fire, and it was just so scary. And we got home, and we were going to have a cookout. Next thing I know, we get a call that David Sky is missing, and they didn't find him till the next morning. But I feel a need to say something because I wish I would have just kept saying, David, you're so tired. I know he wouldn't have listened to me. He was so busy and thrilled with playing, and the other guy was a lot stronger, and they were by the rocks on the pier, and he extended his hand, but he was panicking too. But anyway, I didn't mean, my thoughts on this is it was a tragic thing for us to go through. He went to Hackett High School, and it was just, and my daughter was such a good friend of his. The other part to this is just recently over Easter, I had a family come from another country, and we're walking down on the sidewalk, and they had a 2-year-old, and he went down and was by the marina, and his father was walking ahead of him, and I said, we were up on the sidewalk on Water Street, and I said, this is making me nervous. I said, you know, he's too young to be walking around. So she said, oh, don't worry about it. She didn't say that. She said, just be assured I am a good swimmer. If anything would happen, I'm thinking, no, you did not live here. You know, thinking this was one example and just one more. I was out dinner. and
Time.
Okay, and it had another thing, but anyway, education
Thank you, Barb.
for lifeguards.
Hello. I'm Heidi Geszikowski. I own, with my husband, Taste Restaurant at 402 Phoenix, right downtown here. As a participating business in the South Haven Social District, I would like to voice some points on what has worked and what hasn't worked since the trial period that started in October of '23, as well as our stance on the possibility of extending the dates, times, and/or the boundaries. The social district has created an opportunity and a solution during our busiest times to keep sales within our business and the downtown area. When on a wait for a table, many guests have opted to go to other businesses to wait while enjoying a cocktail or a snack. Some often go to home or to their rental property instead of going back to another business. This is money not spent in Taste or downtown. Providing the chance for these guests to purchase something from us and enjoy it downtown while they're waiting for a table has helped boost our sales. This also helps to keep the money downtown as it often cultivates shopping within the downtown businesses. Allowing guests to purchase the to-go cocktail who enjoyed before their dinner turns our tables faster. By the time they sit for their lunch or dinner, they order their food faster because they've already had a chance to enjoy a cocktail. Faster dining time equals more tables equals more money spent downtown and at Taste. We are also able to encourage guests who would like to continue their experience when they have a large demand for tables to leave earlier, as they are allowed to purchase a cocktail and take it with them while they get to enjoy our wonderful town. Once again, faster dining time equals more tables equals more money spent downtown. Icebreaker this year was a huge success, one of the best we've had, with absolutely no issues on our end regarding the social district. We were able to maintain a non-crowded environment within our walls by allowing those wishing to drink without a seat to take their cocktail to go. It also promoted more involvement in the several activities within the boundaries of the downtown area. The trial period was a great start with limited use, but extending it could greatly help our businesses. Offering cocktails to go during the summer and fall would greatly and positively affect our sales. This is when our highest sales occur. It also creates confusion to customers and possible unintentional breaking of the law if we allow it. And then if we don't allow it, and then we allow it again. Very confusing to the customers and visitors. Extending the hours will also help immensely. During the summer months, we are still very busy at 8 p.m. For a lot of those people that are visiting, that's 7 p.m. their time, not quite dining time yet. And it would benefit by extending the time frame to at least 9 p.m. and broadening the boundaries to include many other South Haven downtown greats would give the guests more opportunity to spend more time and more money in this town. So thank you to the South Haven City Council, sorry. It's been a while since I talked. Thank you to the City Council, the Police Department, the Department of Public Works, and the community members for the opportunity to promote our sales and grow our business. We appreciate all that you've approved and done so far, and we're excited to see what the next step will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Good evening, Bob Pratt, 6133 Oak Park Trail in Hazlet, Michigan. I'm the Director of Education for the Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project. I'm also the Vice President of the USLA Great Lakes Region. I'm on the advisory board of the National Drowning Prevention Alliance. I was recently an advisor on the U.S. National Water Safety Action Plan, reviewing the rescue and resuscitation portion of the document. I presented numerous times at regional, national, and international conferences, including a presentation at the second annual Rip Current Symposium in Sydney, Australia on Great Lakes rip currents. I'm a retired firefighter and have been a lifeguard and a state licensed paramedic for over 40 years. I'm addressing you tonight regarding the 111-page document that's in your agenda packet, and I'm focusing on the 11 pages related to the lifeguard program. For clarity, I'll simply refer to this as the letter. As Nancy pointed out, the letter is buried in the middle of 111 pages. It's a direct rebuttal of Ms. Johnson's report, and you didn't even give her the common courtesy to let her know that you had written it and put it in the packet. The letter contains a great deal of misinformation. It distorts the actual costs with exaggerated prices and inflated quantities. It appears to be part of the city's plan to distract, distort, and delay. The same tactics were employed at the South Haven Beach Safety Committee meetings when Sean and Cameron were continuously told that they could not even discuss lifeguards until the very last meeting. Water safety experts like Adam Abazian and the city's own Nathan Slower were not only silenced, Mr. Slower was forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement and could not talk about the findings that you asked him to look into. I just wonder what the city's hiding from their residents and the visitors. The letter references the Great Lakes Water Safety Consortium's best practices document. For the record, I sit on the lifeguard committee of the consortium and helped craft the document. On Saturday, I contacted the lifeguard committee chair, Scott Ruddle, who runs a beach patrol in Grand Bend on Lake Huron. He's listed as a subject matter expert in the consortium's document. He's in complete agreement with my assessment regarding the exaggerated costs and quantities. It's clear the author or authors of the letter have little understanding regarding the equipment needs of a lifeguard agency. For example, the document lists the costs of a whistle and lanyard as $16. This is a Fox 40 whistle and lanyard. It is the most popular whistle used by lifeguards. It's used by the NBA. It's used by, I'm not going to blow it. It's used by the World Cup. It's used at the Olympics. It's used in the Super Bowl. It is $5. If you buy them in quantity, like we do at the pool that I work at, you can get them for less than $4 for the combination. The price on the budget that was presented has them at $16. That's just ridiculous. The consortium document states that several items need to be readily accessible. Among them, AEDs, oxygen, first aid kits, radios, and spine boards. Your letter claims that the city needs 11 AEDs, 11 first aid kits, 8 O2 kits, 8 radios, and 8 spine boards. In reality, the city needs two of these, one for the North Beach and one for the South Beach. Your letter claims that 8 lightning detectors are necessary at a cost of $1,800. Your phone has an app that will tell you where the nearest lightning strike was and how far away it is and whether your area is impacted. It's a free app. In reality, there are several smartphones that do the same thing. The total cost of these 7 items alone, the AEDs, the oxygen, the first aid kits, is more than $56,000. That makes it half of what the budget has for the lifeguard and the waterfront equipment. There are several other items that are not necessarily or way overpriced. Happy to point them out, but I only have 5 minutes. Much of the letter is simply a distraction. The article about the $3.8 million tower in Florida is completely irrelevant, as is the question about supply chain issues. You were told at the January 2nd meeting that the clock was ticking. Every meeting this year, you've been reminded that this is a time-critical incident. Here we are, April 15th, 6 weeks from Memorial Day, and you're asking community members who's going to move the towers if the weather changes. At the March 11th priority meeting, Ms. Hosier distorted the comments made by Dr. Greg Fields, and she asked for his input and then distorted the expert's opinion to council. It's on video.
That's time.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Hi, Tim Stegman, 223 Huron. I didn't plan on speaking, but the prior gentleman had mentioned the Beach Safety Committee, which I was asked to chair, and I had no vote on it. I just chaired the committee. And we set a priority list, an outline of which topics we were going to discuss at each meeting. the two gentlemen he referenced at each meeting always wanted to talk about lifeguards instead of following the outline. So I think that was a complete misrepresentation of them being shut down when they were speaking out of turn according to our outline. Secondly, we're doing a resurfacing of Huron Street, and I was just curious why we're not doing the whole street, why we're cutting it short. And there's one more I saw here. 3 priorities. You guys are going to look at only 3 priorities tonight. So that tells me, as a past council person, you guys are having trouble getting on the same page, and that worries me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tom Feeney, Harbor Light Brewery, 516 Phoenix Street. As far as the social district goes, I believe that this year, both New Year's and Icebreakers was one of the most enjoyable for the people that attended, and one of the least amount of shenanigans in the events, reported by many of the other businesses to me, and so forth. So I think the social district is a very, very good thing. To what Heidi said, it would be nice if it were extended a little later into the evening again, especially when summer comes. If it's possible to extend it into the summer, extend it at least during light hours and so forth. I would also like to promote that the space be expanded just a little bit to include perimeter areas around businesses with rear entrances. For us specifically, it's a little difficult because we exit directly into Hogan's Alley, and Hogan's Alley is not part of the social district. So for us to have to try to manage that and help our guests understand where the social district is a little bit difficult. We'd also like to encourage the consideration of Dykeman Park, the Pavilion, again, Hogan's Alley, and Williams Street South for those that would like to exit BRT and walk around to the Old Harbor area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trevor Brooks, 559 Phoenix. I'm here to, first of all, thank you. A couple of meetings back, you agreed to allow us to have a liquor license at Kitchen Tribes. And I just wanted to request that the boundaries, I guess the boundaries for the social district might potentially change. If right now we're currently not in it. And I got a feeling that might be an issue going forward. So I'm just hoping that you would extend the boundaries to our property as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Samantha Kester. I'm your local elementary swim director, lifeguard instructor, and swim coach born and raised here in South Haven. Anytime there's a life-threatening emergency, many hands respond to the chain of survival. Lifeguards are the first responders to the aquatic world. It is a team effort to save lives. For my, I'm here to express my why, for the record. My why for lifeguards is not only for those victims of tragedies in our waters, but for the littles of our community. For my elementary swim students that are taught to swim as a pair near a lifeguard's chair per the American Red Cross Whale's Tales curriculum. My why is for when they ask me why it is that they see lifeguards on other beaches when they go on spring break, but not on our beaches here, and I can't explain why. My why is for when those same sweet faces are so excited and so proud to tell me how their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and their uncles used to be lifeguards on our beaches, but that is no longer, and we don't know why. My why is for the preservation of life and to share my love and respect of water, including water guardians. We call them lifeguards. It's time to put all of this into action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard, and I didn't plan to speak either because I've spoken a couple times on this, but I am in favor of lifeguards for a variety of reasons. One, I've mentioned before that I was from the East Coast, and I'm swim 4 miles a week, and very strong swimmer, but I still underestimate Lake Michigan. And I know that many people that aren't familiar with lakes, they think it's like a lake in Wisconsin, very calm. You know, it's not the Great Lake. And I think that many tourists that come here are from all over the country. A couple things that people said that I sort of wanted to question, let's say. I don't think there's less liability if you have lifeguards, and I don't think that that should be a deciding factor. I think life should be a deciding factor, and we have had more deaths here since lifeguards were off the beach. As far as where, you know, people just drop their kids off, I have 2 specific personal examples. One, we were at the beach, and my youngest sister wandered off despite all of us watching. And it was a crowd of people, and she had decided she needed to go to the bathroom, and she was all of 7. Panicked. We were all looking. It wasn't like we dropped her off and left her and no one was looking. Mom and Dad were frantic. A lifeguard found her. The second one was my brother was swimming in the ocean, and apparently one of the waves took him a little too far out, and my dad was on a swim team. He luckily got there before the lifeguard, but barely. But my dad had one leg, and had he been not in the water already, he would not have gotten there. He couldn't get down to the beach in time. So those are personal reasons, and I am very much in favor of lifeguards, and I think that we should do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Hi, Becky Fuller, New Holland Brewing Company. I would like to request the extended season for the social district, and as well as what Heidi said, the extended hours. As she said, for icebreakers and for New Year's Eve, sales from the year before to this year for our business alone almost was 40% increased. And just the guest interaction, not having to be sardined in our building. Obviously, if people have been in the tasting room before, we have a very small area, and so we would like to request that the social district keeps going. Thanks.
Thank you.
Eric Austin, Kitchen 527 Phoenix Street. I also would like to request the extension of the social district and boundary and time. And I believe you guys all got a letter from me in regards to the time, midnight on New Year's, 9 p.m. during the rest of the time. We have 4 weeks until this sunsets, and I would like to see, hopefully today or then by the next council meeting, this resolved so we know, because the rest of us, all the restaurateurs behind us, we're all getting ready for summer, so we want to know, do we need to get the city to get more stickers for us? Do we need to buy more cups? All those things play into the next couple of weeks of planning. So if we get that figured out, we really appreciate it. Extension, also, please the park. It's right there. It's our front yard. It's your front yard right here. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Eric. Welcome back.
Hola, hola, hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Edgar Suarez, Sus Casa Restaurante, 206 Center Street. I would like to say I'm sorry I was not able to participate this past for the social district. I would like to. I heard many positive things about it. Negative boundaries, what's everybody saying. And when I first seen it, I was like, ouch, it's just too small, but I understand. So he wanted to try it, wanted to see. Great. From what I understand, everything is positive, good feedback, people behaved, and I just would like to see it keep on going. I see a lot of our lakeshore communities are doing it. They've been doing it for a while. Everything's been good. So let's keep on moving with the world, I guess, South Haven.
Thank you, Edgar.
And one last question,
keep
just in
going.
regards to my house at 553 Center Street. I don't know why there's been 2 light poles, one cut in half for the last, maybe 8 years, 9 years. I think they were going to switch it, but I think the utility company forgot. Who do I have to ask to see if they can?
I'll pass on. We'll get in touch with you. I'll give you a call.
Thanks. Sorry. Okay. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Hello, Kate Engelbrecht, 125 Elkenberg Street. I'm here in support of lifeguards, and I hope and pray that the city council will make sure that more roadblocks are not put up and we don't keep kicking the can down the road and letting all the time go by and the season happen again with ineffective flag system and no lifeguards. We need the lifeguards to save lives. Please make sure that that happens this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Kay. Any more comments?
Hi, Scott Maxwell, 403 Phoenix Street, Black River Tavern. Wasn't planning on speaking, but with everything that's going on with regard to the social district, just thought I'd put in my 2 cents. We didn't participate this year because of the boundaries. Specifically to us, if you were to walk out a customer to walk out our door and go to the right, that's a problem. And we didn't want to be in the position of having to explain that to every customer. Hey, when you walk out, go to the left, not to the right, you're going to get fined. It was awkward. I was brought in to have a meeting with Griffin with regard to everything, and it occurred to me about halfway through our meeting, it's like, wait a second, this has already been decided. So my conversation with him and my input didn't matter. Everything had already been determined. So we figured, you know what, we'll sit this one out, we'll see how it goes. And like everybody behind me has already had said, everything apparently has gone well for the trial period. We do want to be a part of it. We just want it to be right. So from what I understand, some of the proposed changes, extending the times, hopefully the boundaries, maybe a little bit of change there. We'd love to be a part of it. But we didn't want that onus on us because it is at the same time our liquor liability. There's just so much at stake. It needed to be done right. And for that reason, we sat out the first round. Hopefully you all determine things a little differently and we can move forward and it'll be good for everyone. With regard to the lifeguards, completely on board with that. We tried our part one year with kind of doing a promo with Red Flag. Didn't realize how we did a special Red Flag Day. And we would hang a red flag out in front, and I don't remember whatever specials we had, doesn't matter. But it was a surprise to me how quickly those flags changed. So the severity of the water and how quickly and drastically things changed was an eye-opener for me. So obviously we stopped doing that because we couldn't stay on top of it enough. But I think there's a definite necessity for lifeguards, and everything that you've heard tonight, I think, stands behind that. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Joe Wilkins, 8011 Indiana Street, a point of information. Is the request to expand the boundaries outside of the CBD area? Or just in the CBD area?
Just in the CBD.
Okay. All right.
Any more comments? If not, we will move ahead. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through G?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through G.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to thank Kate for talking about a couple items. So the facility asset management. Kate, I believe you had said that fee is split between the end of this current fiscal year and into the next fiscal year to minimize the impact on our budget and is split between the buildings and grounds and the park department?
That's correct. I can't remember exactly how it's split out, but I can tell you that, yes, we are putting half of it into this fiscal year, as we do have a couple more months. If council approves that agreement tonight, we'll get them started right away, and again, put half of that amount into this fiscal year and then half into the next fiscal year.
And just the Willow Street, I know the CIP, the capital improvement plan was $165K, and it came in a bit more, and thank you for explaining the balance will come from the fund balance, and it looks like it's a much-needed project, so thank you.
Roll call, please.
Arnold.
Yes.
Hasley.
Yes.
Onuki.
Yes.
Reeser.
Yes.
Sleeper.
Yes.
Wilkins.
Yes.
Annie Brown.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to new business, the City Council will be asked to consider the adoption of Resolution 2024-14, a resolution to abolish the Brownfield Plan for 125 Elkenberg Street. Kate.
Thank you. I'm going to defer to our Brownfield Secretary, Griffin Graham. He'll be talking about this item and the next item.
Good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to bring these before you. A couple actions being requested by the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. A little bit of background about both, and then we'll kind of take them one by one if that's okay with the council. But what we have before you all is some cleanup that is being recommended to us by our environmental consultant, Fishback, formerly EnviroLogic. Over a year ago at this point, we requested that they conduct a review of all active brownfield plans in the city of South Haven, and they recommended a number of different actions that we should take to clean up our tracking and our bookkeeping of these plans. As many of you know, brownfield plans can get put in place for 30-plus years, so the tracking is a big administrative toll on city staff, particularly our finance department. And as part of this cleanup, when a plan comes to completion, the Brownfield statute has two terms that are used to end a plan, get a plan to go away, to take it off your books, to essentially say it's done, we don't have to do anything with it anymore. And those two terms are to abolish and to terminate. We have a request for one of each this evening, so I just wanted to start by kind of highlighting what the difference is between the two. The first one we have before you all is to abolish the Brownfield Plan for 125 Elkenberg Street, or the factory condos property. An abolishment is ending a plan because the project was completed. Whereas shortly we will discuss the proposed termination of another plan. A termination is ending a plan because the plan didn't play out the way you expected it would. Particularly why you would end a plan when it didn't move forward as you expected it would is because that allows the opportunity for a new brownfield plan to be put in place, to support the redevelopment of that property again in the future. And really the reasons you would abolish a plan, particularly in the case of the 125 Elkenberg Street, is because all the obligations of the plan have been met. It's really not benefiting anybody anymore, and it allows the city to get it off its books and reduce the administrative burden of a plan continuing on. So in this case of the 125 Elkenberg Street property, specifically it is being asked for the City Council to consider a resolution to abolish the plan. The specific reasons for that are all obligations of the plan have been reimbursed. The Brownfield Plan is no longer benefiting the original developer or the condominium association, as the reimbursement agreement has expired. And the purpose of the plan, in this case the development of a residential condominium complex, was completed. So the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority voted specifically on March 11th to recommend that City Council consider the abolishment of this, and subsequently I have spoken with the president of the Factory Condominium Association to update him on this request. So I'm happy to answer any questions on this specific request, or kind of the difference between abolishments and terminations, if that's helpful.
Any questions? Okay. Is there a motion to consider the adoption of the resolution to abolish the Brownfield Plan for 125 Elkenberg Street.
I would move to approve Resolution 2024-14, a resolution to abolish the brownfield plan at 125 Elkenberg Street.
I'll second it.
Any other questions? All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Moving on, the City Council will be asked to consider the adoption of Resolution 2024-15, a resolution to terminate the brownfield plan for Wyckoff Chemical Company Incorporated.
I move to adopt Resolution 2024-15, a resolution to terminate the brownfield plan for Wyckoff Chemical Company Incorporated.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Next, the City Council will be asked to receive an update on the South Haven Social District and provide direction on changes requested from participating businesses. Kate?
Well, thank you, Mayor. Again, Griffin has been working very closely with a lot of the businesses that you've heard from tonight in finding out how it went for them with the social district, as well as hearing back from them as to what they'd like to see going forward if council's open to that. So with that, Griffin, you want to walk through that?
Yes, thank you. So I appreciate the many local businesses who attended this evening to share their thoughts. I know those are similar conversations to those that city staff has had with many of them over the past year. So as a little bit of background, in 2022, as many of you who were on council at the time will recall, we had several conversations about the implementation of a social district. Ultimately, the city council did adopt a resolution to establish the South Haven Social District. That social district that was put in place had limited boundaries, limited hours of operation, and limited dates to start. My recollection was there was a lot of intent at that time of let's see how this is going to go, and if it goes well, we can have conversations about potentially making changes, potentially expanding, or potentially not at some point in the future. So as that first season of the social district is nearing its end, presently it'll end at on May 15 if there are no changes. There have been over 7,000 stickers distributed to the 5 participating businesses in the social district. To date, city staff has been tracking and distributing these stickers. They are being purchased by the DDA and managed by city staff to be able to give kind of a rough estimate in this first season of how many stickers have been distributed, with the idea of that's going to be kind of our best rough estimate of how many individuals or how many drinks have been purchased or participated in the district. So to date, there's really been no notable issues, unexpected costs, or the needs for additional capacity associated with the social district, including New Year's Eve and Icebreakers weekend. It is anticipated that there'll be many businesses here this evening, many of which you've heard from, to share their feedback on their experiences, as well as to talk a little bit more about some of the requests for potential changes that have been brought up. I won't go over them again, but there's a list in your packet of those that you heard this evening. So really, we wanted to bring this before you all, give a little bit of an update, give you all a chance to share any feedback you have with staff on how you feel the social district has been going, and then ultimately, should the city council like to move forward with any or all of the requested changes, a resolution to amend the South Haven Social District would be necessary, and that is something that we would seek some direction on this evening, and that's something that we could bring back at a future meeting for a final vote. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you've heard from a lot of the businesses. Again, I appreciate their participation. This whole purpose of the social district was to try to support the downtown and our local businesses, and it's really exciting to hear that many of them have had a good experience with it.
Thank you. Mary?
Just thank you, everyone, for coming out. Yes, I have not heard of problems, have heard of good experiences. I do know when this was initially being discussed, the reason the boundary, at least on the west end, was on the east side of Williams Kalamazoo was at request of homeowners. I would be interested to know what feedback, if any, or if you've contacted anyone in the apartments around the backside of where the Black River Tavern is and that area of any concerns they may have if it's extended to allow people to walk down William Street. I do know that there were some concerns with people not appreciating where private property was. I did hear identifying better markers. If that is combined, I don't know if, I know I'm looking at the map that was hyperlinked in the package. On Eagle Street, I believe that was one reason why it's a little zigzag there. There was requests to ensure that the private property was not identified. I would appreciate hearing from other people with regard to Dykeman. I know we have a non-alcohol policy in our parks, but I do know that there are sporadic uses of beer wine tent in Dykeman Park for different activities, and how that may or may not influence expanding the district to that area. And yes, I would like to see how it could be extended to Kitchen Tribes to accommodate that new business in our area.
Thank you. George?
I'm very glad that so far this social district has been positive. There was a link in there for the draft minutes for the DDA meeting on April 3rd. And I didn't see, I saw it was discussed, but I didn't see a lot of discussion or any kind of a motion from the DDA that would say, yeah, the DDA supports these such changes. It was more like a discussion item. Were you at the DDA meeting, or?
I wasn't, but I've spoken with Sue Brock, the DDA director, and they discussed it. They didn't take any formal motion. My understanding is it was pretty unanimously supportive among the members of the DDA board. Mr. Reeser's on the DDA board.
And it was positive. Sorry, yes, I'm on the DDA, and it was positive. There were no negatives, and it seemed like we all wanted to go forward.
Because the thing I don't want to have appear that the city council is driving this. I'd rather it come from the DDA, and then we as city council support what the DDA wants, as opposed to the city council driving it.
I think the city council can feel pretty comfortable that it's the local businesses who are participating in the social district driving it. Those are the businesses that came here tonight. Those are the ones who have brought these comments and concerns to city staff. I think we're just trying to do the best we can to facilitate the process for implementing those types of changes they've requested. So I definitely appreciate that. I definitely know we wanted to, bring those comments to the DDA to make sure they were, they were considered. But at the end of the day, it is the city council who would have to consider the adoption of a resolution. So that's the reasoning for the process we took. But if you all would like to see it, go through a different way, we can do the best we can to try to facilitate it that way.
Joe?
Yeah, last year, we moved very slowly. We picked a smaller area. We picked 6 months. We've tried it. There's been no problems. The businesses are happy. I think this is one of those issues that we can move forward and not take a long time to make a decision. I think we should expand the boundaries. I think we should update the signs. I think we should extend the times to 10 p.m. and midnight on New Year's Eve. And I think we should extend it for the whole year. And I think this is fair for City Council to make that decision. Again, I was on DDA. I didn't see any pushback. I think this is one of those where we can help our businesses, and there's been no problems. And I've talked to an officer in a much bigger city, and they've had no problems that he knows of. So this seems like an easy one that we don't have to take a long time to decide.
To jump in there, and I think, Mary, you brought this up when we talked earlier, is what have we done with enforcement? And speaking with Chief Thompson, we've had a few alcohol tickets and OWIs downtown, but nothing that they can connect to in the social district. And that we did see a very good icebreaker this year. We did go very heavy on foot patrol, but it was also a lot of education, and really it went off really, really well. So I would say the same with New Year's Eve, but icebreakers went incredibly well.
Griffin, do you need more? Oh, George.
Just have one more question. Griffin, I know when the original boundary was established, it went through Planning Commission. I can't remember if that was just a review or an approval. Do we need to go through Planning Commission for this?
You don't.
revision?
That was
Okay.
done as a courtesy at that time, and, if I remember, there was some feedback, but I think the Planning Commission, even at that time, kind of said, right, they didn't have formal action to take associated with that. So I think it was more done as I don't think, it was done more as a courtesy at that time, because it was, I think, much more widely kind of questioned as a community at that time of whether or not this is something they wanted to do. At this point, since we've gone through it for kind of this first season. But again, if that's something you all would like to see, it's something we could do, but I don't feel like that's necessary at this point. It would just be more of an amendment of, an existing social district that we have. Mayor, in terms of your comment of, is that all that I need? I'd prefer a formal motion if that's okay. In terms of, like, do you want staff to work to implement all of those recommendations, some of those recommendations, with the understanding that whatever it is you ultimately make a motion and vote on, we'll have to prepare that kind of formal amending resolution to bring back before you all at a future meeting. We will try to do it as expediently as possible with the understanding that, our businesses want to try to get this in place as soon as possible.
Okay. Wendy.
Thank you. When we were first talking about this in the DDA and then at City Council, I was a little bit hesitant, just thinking of the ways that it could go wrong. And I've been really happy that none of that has come to fruition. And it just seems like a really easy, kind of calm asset to what we have downtown. So I've been happy about that, to be wrong in my earlier thoughts. I do think when I'm looking at the map right now, I know we've talked about Kitchen Tribes being in there. I know there are a few businesses on Broadway that would probably benefit from it as well when we're looking at expanding out, if they were interested, like the Social District, the First or the Phoenix Street, thank you, Los Ranchos. So I don't know if we can look into extending it that far or not. And then, yeah, I agree with the more and better signage. And
we can, at that point, we do start to get out of the central business district.
Okay.
So it's not restricted to that, but so the conversations we've had in the past, that there was a lot of hesitancy about going to the other side of Broadway. There was a lot of hesitancy about going anywhere over the bridge, and there was a lot of hesitancy going anywhere kind of west towards the marina and to the, towards the beach. So my understanding from some of the conversations I've had is we're really looking to square off the district and maybe widen it a little bit just to make it less confusing. I'm happy to include some of those other areas, but that is, I think, slightly different than some of the conversations we've had.
Okay.
But again, Mayor, that's, I think, why it's so helpful to ultimately get kind of a formal motion and vote. It just makes the direction to me as clear as possible of what you all are looking for.
Okay. You've heard the times for Mr. Reeser. You have an idea about the boundaries that are best, that you...
If you all are willing to consider an expansion of the boundaries, we'll definitely make a proposal to you all.
Okay. Mary?
And possibly we could do an alternative where it's within CBD and then slightly outside to give options so that people could comment, so we would have feedback. So we wouldn't have to come back or amend it.
I can do that.
I just thought that might be simpler and more expedient.
Mr. Arnold, did you have a comment?
I pretty much agree with everything that's been said. I might have a motion.
Go ahead.
I would move to direct staff to amend the social district to include the start date January 1st to December 31st from noon to 10 p.m., midnight on New Year's Eve, and please explore expanding the boundaries considering Dykeman Park, Kitchen Tribes, and a more thought-out boundary.
Is there a
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any more discussion or questions? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
The motion passes. To update the South Haven Social District and provide staff with directions requested from City Council and participating businesses. Moving on, the City Council will be asked to receive a presentation from Heather Johnson regarding steps to implement a lifeguard program on North and South beaches. Heather.
You have that presentation?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Hi. Heather Walsh-Johnson, 931 South Haven Place. Nice to see you all. I'd like to thank the council and staff for taking the time to review the lifeguard program proposal that myself and other concerned citizens put together with the input of water safety experts. Rob Williams, retired chief lifeguard of 33 years at Newport Beach, California. Elaine Church with 22 years of experience of Bethany Beach, a privately owned beach in Sawyer, Michigan. Dr. Greg Field of the CDC Foundation and the ARC Project of Holland, Michigan. Sam Kester, South Haven swim coach and fully ARC certified trainer, and also the beach supervisor at Lake Arvesta. Justin Bakinga of the Royal Life Saving Society, and that is currently running a lifeguarding program on the beaches of Cameroon, Africa, with decades of experience. Dave Benjamin and Bob Pratt, of both of which have been dedicated to water safety for well over 12 years. You guys have heard many things from both of them. Dave and Bob have led lifeguard training for a number of beaches on the Great Lakes in multiple states. Bob has been a dedicated first responder for more than 40 years and serves as the vice president of the Michigan chapter of the USLA. I thought it pertinent to gain insight from our historical lifeguard program management, Mike Vidmar and Sean Russell. Both were dedicated head lifeguards with years of experience directly with South Haven beaches. All of this expertise I sourced was then benchmarked against the Silver Beach program in Berrien County, the lifeguard program in New Buffalo, and our own 50-year successful South Haven lifeguard program. Our program proposal reflects current and historic best practices as identified by each of these contributors. I'd like to take a moment and remind council and staff that this program was put together in response to a request from council to private citizens. While this proposal is exceptionally detailed, because this group's motivation is to help and support our community, it should not be viewed as a response to a formal request for quote or RFQ, or even a request for information, an RFI. Slide 2.
Okay.
So the path to a successful lifeguarding program will identify key points to the city to consider when creating their lifeguard program. Those areas include a needs assessment, identifying legal and regulatory requirements, program planning and design, equipment procurement, lifeguard recruitment, lifeguard training and certification, program implementation, program evaluation and improvement, and community outreach. The first step in implementing a lifeguard program is conducting a thorough needs assessment. This assessment involves evaluating the beach area, including water conditions, potential hazards, and historical safety incidents. Additionally, you will need to study the local community's demographic profile, visitor numbers, and seasonal fluctuations. By identifying the high-risk areas, you can determine the required number of lifeguards. You will also assess the available resources and infrastructure for lifeguard stations and equipment. Legal and regulatory requirements play a crucial role in establishing a lifeguard program. You will conduct thorough research to understand the specific regulations and permits necessary for South Haven's beaches. Your aim is to ensure compliance with local, state, and federal rules. You will work closely with the city's attorney's office and the insurance agency to maintain compliance and coverage. This would fall on the shoulders of city staff to coordinate with the MML and MMRMA if you choose to do this underneath the city and not a third party. Okay. Program planning and design will help you create a solid foundation for the lifeguard program. You will design an operations manual layout to outline program policies, procedures, and guidelines. Determining the organizational structure of the lifeguard program, including leadership roles, the reporting hierarchies, will ensure a smooth workflow. Developing a comprehensive budget that accounts for equipment, training, and staffing costs is essential. Additionally, you will identify potential funding sources such as grants, sponsorships, or community support to sustain the program. The costs associated with staffing in our proposed budget reflect current market rates for those positions, hourly and salary. Our proposed staffing costs do not reflect employee benefit costs, as among our group of private citizens, none of us are human resources professionals, and as such would not have access to what those costs may be for either city staff or a potential third-party contracted lifeguard company. Those costs should be easily accessible to city staff. Should, through your own research, council and staff believe the proposed level of staffing in towers is inadequate, the hourly rates provided in our budget proposal can easily be extrapolated across those updated staffing numbers. The equipment costs we have identified and included in our proposed budget reflect researched current costs from numerous easily accessible suppliers. It is, for example, very easy to find quality whistles and lanyards at costs well below $16 suggested by staff. It is also important to remember that there are numerous opportunities to defray costs by way of grants, corporate and local sponsorships, and donations. This group would be more than happy to help to organize those efforts when the city is ready to move forward with an aligned plan and budget for which is fair to assume some spend reallocation efforts on the city side. To ensure effective lifeguarding operations, proper equipment procurement is crucial. You will create a comprehensive list of all necessary lifeguard equipment, such as rescue tubes, spinal boards, and first aid supplies. Through thorough research, you will identify reputable suppliers or work with local vendors to acquire the required equipment. Multiple quotes from many sources, as we do in business, will give you the best pricing and supply possible. You must ensure compliance with industry standards and safety regulations throughout the procurement process. Regarding AEDs and associated costs, Dave Benjamin and Bob Pratt from the Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project serve on the Great Lakes Water Safety Consortium's Lifeguard Committee and helped craft the document referenced by city staff in their questions. The term readily available does not imply that each guard should be equipped, rather that it be available in a reasonable time frame. This is true for the dispatch radios, AEDs, oxygen, and trauma bag. Therefore, only one of each of these items needs to be available at each beach. As per Scott Ruddle, Chief of Beach Patrol in Grand Bend, Ontario, and the subject matter expert with the Great Lakes Water Safety Consortium, it is not necessary to have an AED device per tower. One device per beach is sufficient. Only 6% of drowning victims are recovered in a shockable rhythm. Drowning is first a respiratory emergency. Certainly, there could be reasons beyond drowning that would result in a beachgoer realizing a cardiac emergency necessitating an AED. Whether or not more than one per beach would be necessary could easily be supported by way of SHAE's incident data for the beaches. I defer to them and the data reflecting how many cardiac incidents at the beaches they were called to each year. The success of any lifeguard program lies in the recruitment of highly qualified lifeguards. You will develop a recruitment strategy tailored to South Haven's specific needs. Factors like peak visitor times, swimmer density, and area size will help you determine the number of lifeguards to hire. You will advertise job openings through local networks, educational institutions, and online platforms, ensuring a wide reach. Establishing clear job requirements and qualifications for lifeguard candidates is essential. And through a thorough screening process, including interviews and physical assessments, you will select the most suitable candidates for the role. Lifeguard training and certification are vital components of the program. You will partner with nationally recognized organizations such as the American Red Cross, ISLA, and USLA to provide lifeguard training. The training curriculum will meet or exceed industry standards covering surf rescue, CPR, first aid, AED, conflict management, and emergency response. Regular training sessions will be scheduled to maintain lifeguard skills and knowledge. Continuous development opportunities such as advanced rescue techniques and medical training will enhance their abilities. Once a team of qualified lifeguards has been recruited, the program implementation phase begins. You will determine the optimal locations for lifeguard stations, ensuring unobstructed views of the beach area. This could be one main head guard tower on each beach at 100 yards, no swim zone marker from the pier, with subsequent lifeguard chairs at a spacing of 140 yards to allow for 4 stations on South Beach and 3 guard stations on North Beach, one being a head guard tower, the rest being lifeguard chairs. Setting up necessary equipment such as rescue boards, buoys, first aid kits, and communication devices is essential for effective lifeguarding. Installing appropriate signage in multiple languages, including rules and emergency contact information, will help beachgoers stay informed. Currently, I don't believe that ours are in that way. Developing comprehensive incident reporting procedures will ensure that all incidents are appropriately documented. This can be offered through NFIRS, which is a program that's offered through the fire department, and that would happen if the program is housed with the fire department. Or the USLA also offers resources, as does the American Red Cross. So you can tap into those in order to create that. A robust communication system will be established to enable lifeguards to coordinate effectively with each other in emergency services. In asking Tom McGee, the Van Buren County 911 director, he suggested that 911 would be the first and fastest way to communicate with 911 dispatch to report a water emergency. SOS features on cell phones work with priority and would ensure proper communication for dispatching emergency response. Lifeguards could have the What 3 Words application. It's a new application, and it pinpoints people's location by a 10-meter square to show their exact location, even better than utilizing the triangulation method to flagpole locations. Additionally, you will develop standard operating procedures, or SOPs, that cover lifeguard rotations, emergency protocols, incident documentation, and communication procedures. All lifeguards will receive training on these established SOPs and OJTs. So what is being suggested by Tom McGee is that the guards would have a cell phone that is issued to them at the start of their shift, along with a 2-way radio that they would then use as they check it out, they take it to their shift, they check it back in when they're done with their shift. Both can communicate with 911 dispatch as that priority call comes in. Dispatch takes that priority call. If you're using frequency, you have to dedicate a frequency, and it gets really expensive. So he suggested to bypass the frequency and the cost that's added to that, use the 911 dispatching system, because that will be your fastest way to get them to respond to the beach. The 2-way radio will be used between guards to handle everyday communications, so you're not getting a bunch of chatter on the frequencies. Continuous evaluation and improvement are key to maintaining an effective lifeguard program. The city will regularly review program performance, including incident reports, lifeguard evaluations, and community feedback. By conducting annual audits, you will ensure compliance with industry standards and reevaluate program goals. The city and program leaders will seek input from lifeguards, community members, and stakeholders to identify areas for improvement. Collaboration with local authorities, beach associations, community members, and recreational organizations will foster this improvement. Recurring training sessions and opportunities for lifeguards to enhance their expertise will be provided. The operations manual will be continuously updated to reflect best practices and changing regulations, and the city could utilize whatever program that they so chose to be able to send out those surveys and get that kind of feedback from the community and your beachgoers. Engaging in community outreach is crucial to promoting water safety. Thorough, extensive education of the local community about water safety and the importance of adhering to lifeguard instructions is needed. Public awareness campaigns can be held in collaboration with schools, community centers, museums, clubs, associations, and local media outlets to spread the message and raise awareness. All of this will foster a new community culture surrounding lifeguards, which will aid in the recruitment of new guards and first responders as the years progress. By following this,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. By following this 3-year phased plan, the city of South Haven can successfully implement a lifeguard program on city beaches, prioritizing safety and prevention and enhancing water rescue efforts. Continuous evaluation, improvement, and community engagement will ensure the ongoing effectiveness of the program. As you can see on the slide, there are certain steps that would be attained each year. Thank you. That's the right one. Each year to get your lifeguard program to a USLA standardized entity. I'll give you a minute since it just got up there so you can kind of check it out.
Next slide.
Yeah. The off-season portion of the phased plan allows for continuous improvement and training. Community outreach can be implemented in the off-season in efforts to collaborate with surrounding communities to create cohesive programming along the Lake Michigan shoreline. In the off-season training, you can also have cross-trained lifeguards, so they could be EMS, they could be volunteer firefighters. So you can utilize them in the off-seasons as well as still continue their training with lifeguarding. Beach safety is a system. Lifeguards are one component of that system. The entire system must be coordinated and collaborative. For the system to function as an optimal level, all the components must work together seamlessly. Lifeguards, BEAs, police, fire, EMS, the dive team, the marine unit, the flag system, and even educational materials must be coordinated. Our current council has an opportunity to foster a new and exciting culture for South Haven, one of safety, consistency, and reliability.
Next one.
The experts that were consulted to give the general information needed to create the outline I've presented include, as I've mentioned in the beginning, Elaine Church of Bethany Beach in Sawyer, Michigan with 22 years of experience. Rob Williams of Newport Beach, California with 33 years experience. Dr. Greg Field of the ARC Project and the CDC Foundation in Holland, Michigan, 15 years water safety education, drowning prevention, and research. Bob Pratt of Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project and the Vice President of the Michigan USLA with 40 years experience in Lansing, Michigan. Dave Benjamin of the Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project in Chicago, Illinois. Justin Bakinga of the Royal Life Saving Society in Cameroon, Africa. Sean Russell, previous head lifeguard for the city of South Haven, who is also still a citizen of South Haven, and Mike Vidmar, who was a previous head lifeguard for the city of South Haven. Sam Kester, South Haven's swim coach, beach supervisor of Lake Arbesta, also in South Haven. Tim McGee of the Van Buren County 911 Dispatch Unit, he's 911 director. Scott Ruddle of Beach Patrol Chief, he is the Beach Patrol Chief of Grand Bend, Ontario, and subject matter for the Great Lakes Water Safety Consortium. Next slide. To close, I want to point out some positives to having a lifeguard program. A lifeguard program on the Great Lakes significantly improves water safety for beachgoers and swimmers. Trained lifeguards can prevent and respond to water-related emergencies promptly, reducing the risk of drownings and ensuring a safer environment. Lifeguards act as first responders in aquatic emergencies, providing immediate assistance and life-saving interventions when necessary. Their presence ensures a faster response time compared to relying solely on emergency services, potentially saving valuable seconds or minutes during critical situations. Lifeguards are trained to assess water conditions, identify potential hazards, and monitor swimmers effectively. Their vigilant surveillance allows for proactive preventative measures such as identifying dangerous currents or swimmer fatigue and taking appropriate action. With their extensive training in water rescue techniques, lifeguards possess the skills and expertise to perform safe and efficient rescues. Their ability to navigate challenging conditions and knowledge of life-saving equipment significantly increases the chances of successful rescues in the vast and oftentimes unpredictable Great Lakes. Lifeguards play an essential role in educating the public about water safety, including beach and swimming guidelines, rip currents, or hazardous weather conditions. Their presence fosters a stronger awareness and understanding of potential risks, empowering beachgoers to make informed decisions and take appropriate precautions while enjoying the Great Lakes. This is a decision to have lifeguards once you have decided to have lifeguards. Then you start to answer the questions you have asked of me. Make the decisions and then address the questions that are being asked. It appears city staff is starting to give a lifeguard program the attention it deserves, and I applaud them for those efforts, as evidenced in the volume of questions asked and suggestions made in response to our proposal. As a reminder, our group of private citizens and experts has not been contracted by the city to respond to a formal request for information or quote, nor do any of us represent a third-party company in a position to do so. But we believe we have provided a significant amount of detailed information beyond what could or should be expected to get things moving in the right direction. Again, our proposal reflects current best practices of similarly sized beachfront communities, expert guidelines, and our previous program with more than 50 years of success. As staff and council continue to research and develop an official certified and trained lifeguard plan. Should additional support be needed from anyone in our group, we are happy to help to answer any informed and thoughtful questions that any of you may have in the next steps of the process. Once more, I thank you for reaching out to this team for support in addressing what has clearly been established as the desire of South Haven citizens and visitors alike to bring back a South Haven lifeguard program to protect our beachgoers. 8 drowning deaths in 4 years is unacceptable by anyone's standards, but we believe that we are now on the right path to changing public perception of South Haven being the deadliest beach on the Great Lakes, to South Haven being the community to set the gold standard of water safety. We are proud, and we are so proud to be a part of this change.
And now we'd like to have comments from our city manager.
Well, I do know that a number of council members may have questions for Heather if they would like to direct them at this time.
Joe.
First, I'd like to thank you and all the other people that were involved. This is a great example of the community coming together and taking advantage of intellect, ability, skills, and starting from the bottom up and helping us on city council. And you've done all this simply for the health and welfare of our community, so I want to thank you.
Thank you.
It is my understanding, Heather, and see if I got this right, the main reason you put this together is to create a step-by-step outline for us on city council and city staff to look at, to give us some kind of an idea, some roadmap on how to take this big issue of lifeguards and go step by step and maybe put it together.
Yes.
Do I have that right so far?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So all the answers to all the issues and all the questions we're going to have are not right here. For example, I'm still going to have some questions about legalities. I'm really concerned, and I've talked to others about the insurance issue, and I will talk to Kate and staff, but I would like to hear very specific information from our insurance carrier how this would be addressed. The cost and the budgeting we'll have to talk about more in depth. And one of the concerns I had early on that I thought was kind of answered is recruitment, and maybe that's not going to be a big issue. But I don't think there's anything insurmountable here. I think we just have to work together, the community and city council and staff, and see if we can come up with a program that makes sense and is financially feasible and is legally not putting the city in harm. But I can't thank you enough, because I feel like I'm sitting here knowing a lot more than I did a month or 2 or 3 months ago. So thank you.
Good, that was my goal. Thank you.
George.
Thank you. Heather, thank you. A lot of good information here. Obviously, as with a lot of things, it's easy to say, let's do a lifeguard program, but a lot of times the devil's in the details, and you've got a lot of details here, which is helpful. One thing I was not sure of in your report, and you have 2024 year one, I was not sure, are you saying we would have lifeguard, or do you envision having lifeguards on the beach in 2024 for this summer, or is that because some of the training wouldn't get done until 2025?
It could be done. If you guys decided today that you want lifeguards and you put that in place with city staff and they were able to start the ball rolling, you could have lifeguards this year. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It will take work. It will take a lot of dedication and it will take work, but you can have it by June.
All right, that was my only question.
Do you have any questions?
No, I just want to say thank you, Heather, for all the information. Like the other two councilmen, I do have a concern about the cost, how would it be paid for, and the legalities as well. So hopefully Kate can kind of answer some of those questions later. But again, thank you.
Starting to sound the same. Thanks. A lot of hard work, obviously, great. Joe said outline, roadmap, step by step. Perfect, yep. And I have all the same questions, legal costs and staffing.
Yeah, and those would all, like you said, come from staff.
Yep.
And they would have to, go to the MML, they would have to go to the MMRMA. If this is going to be housed underneath the city of South Haven, then that's the path that they would have to take in order to answer those questions, for sure.
Wendy?
Yes. I wanted to thank you as well for putting this together for us. I sat up here almost feeling bad that we put this huge burden on you, and I appreciate you taking it on. I just feel like we've heard from so many residents and visitors about bringing lifeguards back. I know a lot of us on council have talked about it. And we've just kind of been spinning our wheels, trying to figure out how we could potentially move this forward. And I think that asking you to do that and you being willing to bring this to us was just a huge first step. So thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of see where we go from here, get the rest of our questions answered, and hopefully keep moving forward. So thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
And the
Thank you.
entire group. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mary?
You took my line. Yes, thank you, Heather, and everyone who worked towards this. I know that it was a group effort. And I, like the other council persons, do want to get more information on the legality aspect and try and figure out the cost aspect. And look forward to some productive discussions. I know that I would like to personally discuss this with our insurance and legal counsels, to have a presentation to city council where we can talk with them directly. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a few questions, and thank you so much.
Yep.
Just some small comments. Silver Beach is a county beach?
Yep, Berrien County.
Right. So it's not a city beach?
Correct.
Okay. And I think everyone knows that with cell phones by the beach, sometimes there's no internet.
Right. And when I was talking to Tim McGee today, regardless of cell signal, when you have an SOS feature on your phone, which is it was actually implemented because of a law a long time ago, and if you look on the top of your phone, everybody will have that if you push your power button, that SOS where you can slide it and call police. That takes precedent over any call or text that's going through a cell tower. And when that happens, it will bypass all of those people that are out on the beach on the 4th of July. And it will go directly to dispatch. That is your direct line to dispatch. Always 911 will be that thing for you. So when you're setting up frequencies, and let's say on your computer screen you have frequencies, you have 50 frequencies. Some of them are selected and some of them are unselected. So when they're unselected and you're on a frequency that may have a lot of chatter, so they're going to turn you off. If it's a frequency that, especially with lifeguards, you're going to have a lot of chatter back and forth throughout the day. Hey, did you check, the life rings on the pier? I'm down at flagpole 14 and I'm calling up to head tower and they're checking rings, that's chatter, right? And they don't want to hear all of that. So then it bogs down that frequency. So a lot of the times when you have those extra frequencies, they'll check in on them. When you have a lot of chatter like that. And so when they're checking in on them is when they're going to hear, and sometimes those key words will immediately turn that system on. And so when you have those selected and unselected, most of the time, the ones that are selected are going to be your first responders. And if the lifeguarding system does not have that first responder classification, then it may not hit one of those frequencies. On top of that, in order to create a frequency, aside from the ones that they already have, in order that's dedicated for the lifeguarding program, it costs a ton of money to do that. So the best policy that is recommended by Tim McGee is to do the cell phones issued by the city for the lifeguard program, and you're checking them in and you're checking them out every day. And it's going to also have an app on it. It's called What 3 Words. What 3 Words, it delineates your location by a 10 meter by 10 meter square. So if you work in pairs when you're a lifeguard, you've got guard 1 and guard 2. So if guard 1 calls down to tower 13, he's on 14, he calls down and he says, hey, we have a water emergency, 5-0. the person in 13 is going to immediately grab that cell phone and hit that SOS and go directly to dispatch. And dispatch will directly dispatch SHPD, SHAES, EMS. It'll get all of them right down to the beach. So that saves you in time of trying to call down. You're going to call down to head tower. You're going to dispatch out from your dispatch radio that costs thousands of dollars, and that's going to then go to dispatch, and then you're having all of these different chains of speaking with everybody. And that person that calls from 13 for 14, they're going to take their cell phone, they're going to leave their tower, take their cell phone down to where the water emergency is happening, and that 10 by 10 square from the What 3 Words app is going to ping that person so you have a better identification of where that person is in an emergency. So it's going to cut down on your time, and time is of the essence in a drowning situation.
You said that we could have lifeguards by June?
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. June was in the last year's budget for the fiscal year. So the city council members who made the priorities did not include lifeguards as their priorities for that fiscal year. So I'm confused about how we can add lifeguards when it's not in that fiscal year budget.
So that would be something I think for Kate. I don't know about the fiscal budgets, but I will tell you that you have the opportunity to say, hey, how much money do we have in the budget, and can we utilize a portion of that to pay for guards for the month of June, since the fiscal year starts back up in July? Once you have it, you can start with training, you can start with recruitment, you can start with little things that are not going to cost a big sum of money, and you can utilize the money that you have left over, let's say in a fund or whatever it was that I had heard earlier. You can look at overages and revenues from beach parking fees or things like that in order to take care of that 1 month. It's 1 month before your next budget starts over again.
Kate, will you be talking about the cost of a lifeguard program in
Yes.
your comments?
Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I was just thinking, Tim McGee was here year before. He was here this year, and he talked about that, What 3 Words.
Yeah.
I liked your explanation to the mayor's question, but I know when I'm down on the beach, I can watch my phone switch to Chicago and back, and so I still...
It still won't bog
makes
down
me
your
nervous.
SOS.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
so if I
if
hit
you're
that
calling
SOS,
911.
does it SOS to Chicago?
No.
Or does it, okay,
It will SOS to your dispatch, yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yes. We can confirm that with Tim, too, if you would like. Yeah.
Okay. Kate, would you like to speak now?
Yes, I'm happy to call up Kim Wise. I know that you saw the memo that was put into the packet, and I got my team together because really, council makes a policy decision. That's really the purpose of having a professional staff, is to walk through the different components of what it would take to implement a brand-new program. And quite honestly, it's been over 20 years. That would mean that this would be a brand-new program. We no longer have a leisure services director. Thank you, Robin, for stopping by and letting everyone know you were the leisure services director. But we don't have that now, and that would seem, that would be a new program. And moreover, I think Heather put a lot of points on the board, and this is something the team talked about, is that we walked through this with IT, with beach safety, Matt Day, with Kim, with Dana, and we walked through a number of concerns from the different departments that would have to be critical in getting this off the ground. One of the concerns is this is a lot to get done in a very short amount of time, and you got to make sure it's done safely. That's the critical component that I'm trying to convey to all of you, is that you all make a policy decision, and then you're asking me to execute. And I don't think it's right to put something out there in a fast method if it can't be safe. And that's what we need to do, and that's what our concerns are always about. And so I've asked Kim to kind of come up here and kind of walk through this memorandum, because we put together a lot of our thoughts, because we got the information from Heather, and then I got the team together, and we were only able to get together that Friday morning. So that's why it was lately added, because we had to get folks together. So with that, I just wanted to reiterate that this is just staff's looking at this from a detail perspective, because we're not at the 30,000-foot level. We're at how do you implement a brand-new program, and that's where we're at. So, Kim, I know we've kind of walked through this internally, but if you can kind of walk through this memorandum.
Sure. So thank you, Kate. And council members, thank you for all of your work on this. Heather, thank you for your work. What you put together was amazing. And I think Kate kind of stole some of my thunder there. As far as, yes, staff, the ones that were listed on this, we only were able to get together Friday, 11 a.m. And from there, we had to quickly come up with we had some questions, some comments. We probably wouldn't even put that together, except for we know that this council is very interested in lifeguards by this summer. And so that really lit a fire under us to get moving on this and to come back with our questions and comments. Is everything on here going to be perfect as far as equipment and all that? I think it's probably going to be more in the middle of what the two have put together. We're going off of the best information we have in a very short period of time, so we're doing the best that we can as well. I have had the chance to talk to representatives at Silver Beach and at New Buffalo, and just talking about their staffing levels did give me some pause as to the staffing levels that was suggested to cover both the North and the South Beach. Those are huge beaches, so that was just one concern that we had. As far as equipment, all of that can come together, but it just takes time to put that together. So when you're saying that you want to do this by June, I think not just myself, but all of this council or the staff members who got together on this, we all have a little bit of concern about, can we realistically do this by June? If we're going to do it in-house, then of course we have to follow the same type of hiring practices that we do, and probably even more so stringent. Getting into Pro Health, it might be a couple weeks before you can get into Pro Health for the pre-employment physical, interviews and things like that as well. So for me, when I post a position, it's usually going to be a month and a half, 2 months before we're able to get those positions filled and get them started. So we would be, it'd be after June, in my opinion, before we get anything going. If we did outsource this, if Heather happens to have a great group of folks ready to go already, which would be wonderful, are we outsourcing this and doing it as a request for proposal? If so, are we going through the typical RFP process that we would do for anything else? Are we looking for other folks to jump in and say, hey, I might want to run this program? I don't know. These are just questions that we have. Going through this a little bit more, the training, I think there's some training that we know about, Red Cross, things like that you can just find online, but it would be putting that together. Of course, we have to budget for that, the staff's time that's in those training sessions, and then there are additional ones, going down to Florida, how are we budgeting for that? Just a lot of questions that we had. Again, not that we can't do this. We're all in this for water safety. We all care passionately about this. My husband's been in my office and way too many times soaking wet from being on water rescues. So I think we all care deeply about water safety. We just want to make sure we're doing this right, we're doing it safely, and that, it's sustainable. Again, I think the cost probably will be somewhere in the middle between what they proposed and what we put together. It's just trying to figure out how we're going to pay for that. Red Flag Days, speaking with New Buffalo, they implemented the fine system similar to ours because one of their lifeguards was injured during a red flag rescue. During that rescue, they said that the first responders were still struggling to get people to come out of the water. Our beach enforcement attendants, our police officers have said the same thing. On Red Flag Days, it's very tough to get people out of the water. So just another thing to be aware of. We also have 5 other beaches and access points that still need to be monitored for the beach flag. So our beach enforcement attendants, we can't just give that program up. We have to keep that program going, and just making sure that we're still following our protocols for those. And hopefully you all had a chance to read through this. There's just a lot of questions that staff has, and again, we're not opposed to lifeguards. We just want to make sure we're doing it right.
Which days does the city of New Buffalo have lifeguards?
Typically, if they're fully staffed, they can do 7 days. They haven't been able to recently, so they've been doing like Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays.
Okay, thank you. Heather mentioned that lifeguards could become EMTs. My understanding is that there is a lot of training required to be an EMT, and I was wondering how a lifeguard would, at the end of the summer, become an EMT, suddenly an EMT?
Yeah, I think
How
that.
does that work?
Yeah, they'd have to fall under Shays, which is a totally different organization and a whole nother conversation, and Chief Hintz could probably speak more on that.
And not only that, but I offered phases to the program. So it wouldn't have to be that they would need to be EMTs by the end of this summer. They could train over the off-season in order to be able to do that. So they would have all of summer and then all of winter and fall and spring before they would then have that classification. So they would have time to be able to do that, I feel.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Kim, any of the places that you contacted, did anyone outsource their lifeguard program, or was it all in-house?
Silver Beach, New Buffalo's in-house.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Sure. I wanted to know what would be the quickest way to actually get the lifeguard program started?
I can tell you that. Sorry, go ahead if you want to finish.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so American Red Cross, so we have actually Sam Kester. She is fully American Red Cross certified to train American Red Cross lifeguards. She has taken over the lifeguarding program out at Lake Arvesta. So the first prerequisite to ISLA certification is American Red Cross certification. So we certify all of our, and we can utilize somebody we have locally. So we're putting that money right back into the community. And once we have them American Red Cross certified, it takes ISLA 3 days to train those ARC trained guards to be surf rescue trained.
And then I also wanted to know, because I think you said we have 5 beaches, but I know.
We have 7, actually.
Okay, 7 beaches. But I know when I was growing up, I only saw a lifeguard on North and South Beach, so wouldn't it just be the North and the South?
That was what their proposal was.
Okay, no, I heard someone say something about we have more
Correct.
beaches.
Correct, for that the beach enforcement attendants still need to monitor. So that would be separate from the lifeguard program. We still have to change the flags on all of those beaches.
But there's also ways that you can incorporate the BEAs into the lifeguarding program. So you could actually move the BEAs underneath the lifeguarding program and have them all cohesively working together. And that way, that would also save the $70,000 truck for the first phase in the first year. You could cut cost and implement that truck at a later date and utilize those ATVs with the BEAs and have them transporting the head guard from beach to beach if that's so needed.
And then I have one last question for Kim. You said it takes a month and a half to hire a person?
Yes.
When you do, you got to schedule the interview. So you post the position, you review all of the candidates, you schedule the interviews with the hiring manager. Sometimes I'm in on them, sometimes I'm not. It might be the hiring manager for seasonal positions only. From there, they make they contact me, they want to make a job offer, I make them the job offer. Then I got to get them scheduled for Pro Health. And then usually about a couple weeks to get them into Pro Health. Then you get another 3 to 5 days, depending on how long it takes them to get the results back. We run the background screenings, all of that as well. So it's a process.
So I'm just saying that there's no way we can expedite that. I mean, with the shortage around the whole wide world, it just seems like everyone else is able to expedite things, and I'm just wondering, is it possible that that could be expedited?
I don't see how you can expedite it. And moreover, just putting bodies on the beach isn't the cure-all. I mean, we just walked through that we have to have SOPs and we have to have communication. And if you're putting somebody out on the beach saying we're gonna be lifeguards and we're gonna go in there. Training is but one aspect. Getting them hired and getting them trained is but one aspect. I appreciate Heather reaching out to Tim McGee, but there's a reason why firefighters and police officers don't use phones as their primary mechanism for dispatching, is that it's not as reliable. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's a number of things that I see from my perspective is that you've got to get communication out there. You've got to get a chain of who's doing what, who's responsible for what, how is this going to be done? Mm-hmm. Because should you put those folks out there and you haven't trained them or you haven't supported them enough, you have now put them in harm's way should something happen. And I'll tell you, I think that the beach enforcement, who have already been hired, have not signed on to become lifeguards, and I think that you're going to have to keep them separate. Writing a ticket and talking to people about getting on the beach, there is some overlap for education, but going into the water or looking for the signs of drowning is something, I think, different than talking to somebody about no alcohol on the beach or, you know, and those, I think they're different skill sets. They may overlap in some people, but you're asking for different things. Your beach enforcement agents or beach enforcement attendants are looking to go all over the beach. They're not going to be trained to be looking at the water, whereas that is what I understand lifeguards to be doing. That is their primary duty, is to watch the water, not taking care of other things. But that's, again, that's where we have to talk about what is this job, what are these people gonna do, how many people, and we've got an estimate in there, it could be as high as 630,000, I think, versus theirs, and again, we also checked into workers' comp, and I did talk to the Shays Board, and did talk to Shays about whether they would take this on, and this isn't something they're interested in. And also, Shays is, I think their liability coverage, I think if I remember Rand saying, they will not cover workers' comp. They will not cover this for their organization. That's something we have to talk about. Moreover, I think it's to make an informed choice, this council needs to meet with our city attorney and walk through some of the concerns that I've heard from a number of council members tonight about what is the exposure here, what are we signing up for? And there is a bit of, that is tying in, I think, to the cost. So I think there's a number of things we can do. I just want this council to make an informed choice. And like I said, when we first started here, is that this memorandum wasn't meant to be a deterrent, but just to go through the staff's thought process as to what this would look like for implementation, or what we are thinking at and what we're looking at. I don't want to minimize that. And I've heard people say, all you need is a whistle and board shorts. And I think that's a really flippant answer to something that you're asking to put out there. If this is as serious as many people have been saying, then we need to put some real thought and execution into this potential program.
Can I speak to that?
I just have a question first. So you said that the city's estimated cost for a lifeguard program is $630,000 per year?
That's correct. Now, we're looking at this, just what we estimate for the number of towers on each beach and the number of people. And quite honestly, when you hire for summer help, you got to work with what you're getting in, and you also have to understand that there's a lot of people who've got family vacations, or they're going back early to school, or they've got summer programs that they're taking part of. For a lot of different positions, we have to hire a number more than we estimate, simply because we know either people are not be available like they will be, and that's one thing we looked at. Also, we also looked at, and I think Kim can kind of jump in here, is that when we looked at some of the guards, or at least the duties on there, it didn't seem to correlate. So to kind of highlight some of the things that I think need to be done, which is, you know, creating an SOP and following up for those training standards and keeping all that documentation up, that's something that has to be continued to be done. Can you have anything more to share on that?
I would say that, you know, if you're looking at only hiring 18 employees, then it's not going to be 600,000. But if you're looking at fully staffing both beaches, you're going to need more than 18 people. That just, again, there's going to be days off. There's going to be, you know, if you need a head lifeguard at each beach, then who's going to be the head lifeguard on the days that they are off? It's a lot of little things that we just don't know yet.
So, and we cannot just hire a director of the lifeguard program. That job will have to be posted, and legally and according to our protocol and our ordinance, we have to go through a hiring procedure too that takes time.
And you would want to, for a
Right.
position like this, you would want to do it right. You'd want to hire the right person for it.
Okay. Heather?
Yeah, so, I can't even, okay, so, thank you. So it's a phased plan. With any business, you're going to start it off small. You're going to look at the risks. You're going to look at the rewards. You're going to see what it's going to take in the least amount of money, because when every startup starts up with the least amount of money. You start up, you phase it, you scale it to 3 to 5 years. When you're scaling a business 3 to 5 years, you're showing people your projections, and you're showing people how you can earn that, right? How you can earn your income, your earnings. When you're looking at this entity of a lifeguarding program, it is going to be like that. You're going to look at it like a business, and you're going to say, okay, we're going to 3 to 5 year project this, and we're going to say, you start off small with the 15 guards that we've suggested, with 2 head guards, with a beach supervisor. Sure, you can vet them, and I don't know I don't know that it would take a month. I think that maybe you could vet them within a week, especially if you had the right candidate. And you sent them to Bronson Wellness Center, who can get a drug screen back in 3 days, or you can check their backgrounds. If you sat and you really took the time to say, this is the priority, and we're going to take this and we're going to do this in a week. We have a few people we could hand to you, if that would help. If that's the direction that you all take, but it's making the decision first to say, we are going to do this. And then we've suggested this since January 2nd. We've been talking about this since last year. It's about taking the time to say, we are going to do this. Put it in place. As soon as you make that decision, every boot on the ground can get running. Everything can get started. You have over a month and a half in order to vet these people right now to get them on the beach by June. I don't understand, I think, the juxtaposition of thinking that we don't have time, because we've been saying this since last year, even further than that, 10 years. We've been saying that, we've had people here doing this for well over 20 years since the lifeguarding program went away. I think that all of you have had it in your minds before, and you have seen people up here reaching out to you as your ward people, as your constituents. You're all people's ward people. Your constituents want this. I've gone door to door. We went knocking door to door this weekend, and we talked to people in our neighborhood. I'm in Ward 2, so Wendy and Jeff are my ward people. I reached out to Jeff today, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know this is what I did. And I can't tell you, I think maybe I had one person tell me, no, I don't believe in that. That was it. I went to businesses downtown. My executive assistant went to businesses downtown. Every single one of them are for this. And if you make the decision today to do that, do it and put boots on the ground. Give the orders and make them start marching.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the council? Joe.
Kim, even though you found most of the communities hire their own people, is there any advantage that you see of us using a third-party operator? Because they already have the experience, they can get the people, they can take the liability for the people, not the liability for drowning, but the liability for the people. Could that be our best way, whether we do it this year or next year? I'm not arguing that, but if we wanted to do it, could we use a third-party operator to get started, and maybe could even be more cost-effective?
Yes, actually, MMRMA and the MML have advised that if we're going to do this, they would prefer us to outsource it, not run it in-house, to help mitigate some of the liability.
Can I speak to that too? So I also talked to a
Quiet,
lot
please.
of
We can't hear the speaker. Thank you.
I talked to a lot of experts about that, and should it be in-house or should it be outsourced? And it was a divided census. Some of them say yes, outsource it. Some of them say no, don't outsource it, because they already have, in order to get this implemented in the timeline for June 1st, even July 1st, if you wanted to, just to stick with the fiscal budget. If you do that, those are all decisions that you guys have to make. It's not for me to make, and it's not for my experts to make, but when you're outsourcing something, you have to pay attention to what the statistics say on outsourced companies. And their Ellis agency, they are an outsourced company, and I believe that they had a $40 million lawsuit from an incident with a lifeguard on his cell phone. So, I mean, it takes that kind of research to know. If you do it in-house already has the HR, they already have the IT, they already have the first response stuff kind of in place, so they know where they're going with it. If you're starting from an outsourced agency, they then have to come in and they have to build all of those things. I even said today, I was like, looks like I'm building a lifeguard agency, because it's ridiculous that we would be looking at it like that and saying, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this? We're a community, we can. And we can all help everybody in order to get this off the ground by July. We have the people in place to come in and help you guys. You're talking about outsourcing things. Why outsource it? They're all right here. They're all right here.
Kate, any more remarks before we move on?
No.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you all.
Members, we don't need to take action on this item. Let's take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back to talk about our priorities.
Do you need a motion to take a 5-minute recess?
I'll make a
I so
motion to
move.
go into a 5-minute recess.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Concessions?
Yes.
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 Opposed? We are back in session. Moving on to number 12. The City Council will be asked to review the report from the Strategic Plan Priority Setting Workshop and consider selecting 3 priorities for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Kate?
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, we have before the council the report that came out of our strategic planning session, and I appreciate the council working with Mr. Vandenberg to look at a novel way of doing strategic planning, because it's more of a holistic thing, as we all know that you can start one thing one year and kind of go forward. And I mentioned this to a couple of you today, is that sometimes we put things on our priorities list, and it does take a couple of years. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of government business. We've had, recodification of the zoning ordinance on there for some time, and that's been quite the process. And as you can see, it's at the Planning Commission at this point and going to be coming to City Council. So there's a lot of things that kind of get started that takes some time. So what's in the packet tonight is the report from Mr. Vandenberg, and it clumps it separates out the priorities that were voted on into a couple subcategories, just to kind of give some guidance as to what's there. And then it also looks at the overall objective priority activities. And what I had asked is in the packet is to select 3 priorities. And the reason for that is that some of these priorities are pretty heavy hitters and need a lot of staff time, and need a lot of staff, attention. And knowing that we have, resources and capacity, because it's still a small organization, and we want to make sure that we're, getting things done. I think that's something that I've heard from a number of you tonight, is that we don't want to see things kind of drag on. If we can get that targeted and get staff moving on things, that means that we need to focus on a particular priority. So what I'm asking council to do is review those objective ranking list of the individual projects that we have on page 106 of your packet. Now, you can see how they rank overall because of the number of votes they got. But again, this is council's priority setting, I guess. We've already done the strategic planning. And if this isn't where the council wants to go with these top 3, this is the time to kind of discuss where you'd like to go. So I guess I'm looking to have a discussion with council on what those would take, because ultimately I've got to come back and assign some dollar values of what me and my team think it's going to take to get these the priorities that you asked for, what it's going to take to get them accomplished. But the other thing I was hoping to talk about with you tonight is that some of these have, they're kind of vague, and I want maybe a little bit more direction as to what these mean to you. Because if you look at maybe the 4th priority, plan for housing at all price points, what does that mean? So that's the other thing, is how do I make achievable, executable goals, and what does success look like to you on something like that? So it might be helpful to find out if there's anything that you do have in common for a priority. Yes, sir.
So I'd just like to go by the actual ranking that we all voted on already. And by far and away, the number 1 was STR ordinance. And over again, I hear residents, they talk about it more than any other issue. So I'd like to have STRs again as our number 1 priority, especially since we're in a 6-month moratorium. The clock is ticking. So for every reason, I think short-term rentals should be the number 1 priority. And that's pretty specific, a new ordinance.
Okay. Other priorities from you, Joe, before we move on?
More priorities?
You get to pick 3.
You want me to give 3? Sure, I'll be glad to pick 3. Number 1 would be STR. Number 2, rather than the Overton development, I'd like to just say workforce housing. We need more housing. Ryan Kilpatrick said we're short 1,000 houses. So I'm fine with having different price points for the housing, and I'm great with Overton as a starting point, but we need housing, and that could include duplexes, triplexes, whatever in our community. So I think housing should be number 2. economic development should, in my opinion, number 3, it doesn't exactly say that, but very close. And then, that's 3.
Thank you.
That's my 3, thanks.
Thank you. Is it George?
Sure. So my number one priority that I picked out was the Overton development. I mean, to me, housing is the thing that's going to drive a lot of other things in the city. It's going to drive quality of life. It's going to drive the economic development. I see one of the priorities add an economic director. I don't think that's going to do much because I think we're going to be, our hands are going to be tied because there's not going to be adequate housing for any kind of economic development we might want to get. I mean, we didn't really have last year much of a problem of having economic development. We had 3 industries expanding in South Haven. So I don't see, to me, housing development is economic development. And if we're going to hire an additional person, I would rather see them focus on housing rather than economic development, because I think we're tied up with lack of adequate housing for any kind of major economic development. So Overton was one. The STR ordinance, that was my number 2. Number 3 I had is Code of Ordinance Update / Master Plan. I have those grouped together because I think together, especially the Master Plan update, that is going to drive changes to our zoning ordinance that's going to, again, allow for more housing. So the overall theme of my 3 priorities is housing, basically.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My next. My number 1, of course, is the short-term rental ordinance. And my number 2 is housing, but I do have a question on that, Kate, because there was the Overton and housing at all price points. We kind of scratched at all price points, and I think just workforce housing, like Mr. Reeser said. So I think Overton housing / workforce housing can go together as number 2. And then number 3, I have beach safety.
Jeff?
Okay. I cheated a little bit like George did and combined a couple of things. I have Overton, and then I like what Letitia just said, and workforce housing as my 1. 2, I said update zoning, master plan, and code of ordinances. And then 3, I had amend STRs.
Wendy?
I talked about this earlier, but I feel like picking 3 out of these is really hard, and I wish we would have talked about that during our priority setting workshop, how many we were going to narrow it down to, and maybe not had 17 stickers to vote on, because I feel like there are a lot of really important things in here, and I would have been more comfortable with a top 10 or top 8, top 5 at the least, instead of just 3. I don't know how everyone feels about that, but my top 5 would be the top 5 ranked things, because that's what everyone voted for. That would be my preference, to stick with those. If I had to narrow down to just 3, I would put my number 1 at lifeguards. Number 2 would be STRs. Number 3 would be housing.
Thank you. Mary?
I echo concerns from Wendy about the process that's been taken. I mean, looking at historically since 2001, we have identified really not the specific priorities, but more of the broad category. And looking at that, you know, we could easily pick 3 of the broad categories with the top 5 objectives falling within them. I do appreciate challenges that come with significant priorities. It's just very difficult when priorities have not moved along over the past few years, and we are dealing with items that have not been finalized, trying to make sure they continue, so then identifying them as a priority. If I am only allowed to select 3, it's very difficult to rank these in different orders. I have heard from multiple residents equally with regard to issues around STRs and also beach safety. I can't really say which one would be first or second. They rate equally well. With regard, and the thing is, with the short-term rental, I certainly hope that that will be resolved very quickly. And so actually we really should be requesting 4, because hopefully, like I said, that one has been on the priority list for a while, and I certainly hope we're able to put that to bed very quickly.
We're requesting 3.
I know. I'm going to go with Economic Development Director. We hear about staff having too much to do, and if we get the right person, they would help with the housing issues, and economic development and housing are tied hand in hand.
Okay, did you say lifeguards or beach safety?
Well, the priority is beach safety / lifeguards.
Okay.
So, but the key is, as we've heard tonight, that to have a full beach safety program, that would require lifeguards.
Okay, so you said beach safety / lifeguards, short-term rentals, and economic development director.
The economic development director with regard to economy and housing.
And your economic development priority was economic development. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, basically I see housing as really economic development. And you're going to be limited by housing, no matter if you bring in an economic development director, they're only going to be able to do so much. So I feel instead of focusing on economic development, we need to focus on housing. Economic development will follow.
Okay, thank you. After a lot of thought, my 3 priorities are Overton, and secondly, I don't even know if this is on the list, but infill housing on vacant lots and available land in the city, and a cap on short-term rentals.
Can I just get clarification on Mary, because she said so many things. The only thing I do know is first was economic development manager. I don't know what's second and third.
Well, no, so that was actually 3rd.
That's third?
Yeah.
What's first?
So I had said that I have heard from residents for beach safety lifeguards and the overhaul of the short-term rental ordinance, and that so.
And then economic?
Yes.
Any more comments or discussion?
I do have a question.
Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I have the same question that Wendy and Mary kind of asked. Can you just kind of give me some clarity of why we only chose 3?
Yeah, I think there's a resource and a capacity issue here, which is there's only so much staff to go around. And I know that, something I've been asked is, can we have more people in the community assist us? Well, we can have all the folks we can have to assist, but ultimately, by charter, there's one person who executes. And there's a lot that is going on right now that council's not really asked to kind of weigh in because it's being operated in the background. I know that my DPW staff are busy getting everything ready for the summer. We know that we're getting ready for the beach season with the beach attendants and doing all that hiring for seasonal folks. I also know that we've been really tied up right now with water and sewer trying to get 2 large projects underway. One is being currently done at the wastewater treatment plant. The other is we are trying, and we've been working on this very diligently since Dana came on board, now not just doing your budgeting, but we are trying to really get just tying everything up for the $27 million that we got in grants and loans that we need to still go out and finance, and that's part of SHASA. That's taking significant amount of staff time away that could be supporting me and executing things, and that's just one aspect. Well, let's look at the building department. The building department has the zoning ordinance update that's being done after a year's worth of work with an ad hoc committee. Also, we're about to step into master plan update, and while it's not a complete rewrite, because we did that in 2018, some of you might have been around, we had 26 public meetings over a 2-year period. That was a significant update, a rewrite. Here we're asking for an update with coastal resiliency, but that still takes a lot of staff time. And if we're talking about infill, if we're talking about housing, that means that we've got to have some team members that are able to kind of attack some of these problems, and the capacity is coming to an issue. I don't want to overpromise something and say this is going to be a priority and not make the movement forward. I've heard tonight several times that we've had all these priorities, but we haven't made significant progress on them. And yet at the same time being criticized because we're not having enough priorities because we've had so many in the past that I cannot give you the laser focus that I think some of you are asking for on some of these large projects.
So I think what I hear you saying is that you need it, and it's smaller so that you can make some movement.
Yeah. As I think that from what I hear from you all is that you want to make some real change and you want to get this done. And for that to happen, I need to just get 1 or 2, 3 items where I can go forward with my team and get them done.
I think, and I'm not speaking for the entire council, but I think that when we had the previous meeting, if that would have been said, I think that would have felt better than us just been saying, than someone just saying, just choose 3.
Yeah.
I think that's just the frustration. Just my thoughts.
Well, and maybe if this helps is, because again, there's budgeting that has to occur with anything that we're doing and anything that we're allocating money towards, or anything that so council sets a priority, staff come back and say, this is our time frame for executing, this is how much we think that we're going to need to either with getting a consultant, say Ryan Kilpatrick, or whatever that's going to cost to kind of get this executed. That's what we come back and put that in the budget. Now, if we knock it out of the park and we get one of these things done, maybe we revisit a priority and add something back to the list, but just understand that you're adding something back to the list, and that so if you get 1 out of 3 done, instead of focusing on priorities 2 or 3, you're now back to 0, and you're not going to be seeing the execution of priorities 2 and 3. You're adding another one to the list.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Reeser.
I hear what Kate's saying, but 2 things. One is, even if we can only get 3 done, or spend a lot of time on the top 3, when other issues come up, and let's just assume for a second beach safety was number 4, if we had 5, then we know that's important to us and to the community, or at least it's important to city council. So it should still be on the priorities. So I think to go from 10 that we used to have down to 5 is cutting it in half. Doesn't mean you can accomplish all 5, but at least we know what's important within the city, and we've identified them. And this is one of those times where I think city council calls the shots on this one. This is where if 1, 2, 3 of us right off the bat and we don't even know where the others fall. But I think a minimum of 5 is not unreasonable. And taking notes when everybody said, there is 5 there right now that we could address almost everyone's needs, if not everyone up here, just by saying 5. And that doesn't mean 4 and 5 get the same concentration. Then the last thing I want to say is economic development manager. I thought that was really important before. And Kate, you corrected me today and said Griffin, handles that. And Griffin has made it clear to me, he's very capable of things like this. So we could drop that and have Griffin handle that task. It doesn't mean he's going to do everything, but I still think we can pick 5 important things for this community, for this council, and have them in ranked order, and that still gives direction to staff, gives direction to us, and I think that's our call as city council.
The thing is that there are other huge infrastructure projects that are going to happen that we haven't talked about and that we need to keep working on, or our infrastructure will fail. So that's a behind-the-scenes machine that is cranking along and costing us a lot of money and a lot of work and a lot of time from our staff. So that's another reason why we're narrowing it down to 3, because we are keeping a city running.
Can I comment?
Sure.
We have a director handling utilities and infrastructure, and that is always going to be, the rest of the years this city exists, we're going to have infrastructure as one of our most important things the city staff and our city director of utilities will always handle. Our previous mayor, almost every time we talked about priorities, and some of you, I know George will remember, first thing he said is utilities, because you can't run a city if we don't have utilities. But that's kind of a given. What do we as council, beside the given issues like utilities, what do we want to do? What mark do we want to leave on this city? And I can't say short-term rentals aren't the most important thing because we have to fix a road. I think we can do both, but I think short-term rentals should be there. And I think everything that everyone said, and that's 5 right there, should all be priorities. But bottom line is we should decide. So
Right. The thing is, though, is that I can't emphasize this enough, that we have huge projects coming down the pike that are going to take a lot of money and a lot of time.
Okay.
Wendy?
I just also echo what Joe said, and I would be more comfortable with 5 than 3, appreciating that there are other things going on behind the scenes. And I feel like if we would have gone into that strategic planning session, thinking there were 3, being able to rank it down to 3, talking about that at the time, I would be more okay with that. But where we are now, I would like to see 5 also. And that would, as Joe said, kind of cover what everyone is talking about today.
It sounds like the consensus is 3.
I'm not sure.
Make a vote. Could we take a vote and find out what the consensus is?
Well, we talked and we took tally marks. Kate, what are your results?
Well, everyone has said some version of STR. Joe had that as his first one. George, you had that as your second one. Letitia had that as your first one. Jeff, you had that as your third one. Wendy, on the just 3, you had that as your second one. Mary had that as her second one, and the mayor had cap of STRs as her third. So I think you have at least one that I'm hearing commonality on. So there's progress.
I think the question was really more, what is the consensus for the number of priorities, not what the consensus of priorities is. And I'm thinking that there's a consensus that we should have at least ranked more than 3, because I do hope that STRs is put to bed very quickly, and then that just leaves 2.
Well, I think one thing that Kate said is if we get something done, we can revisit it. I mean, we have, on page 106, we have a whole list of ranked priorities. there from our workshop that we did where we used the sticky notes. So I mean, the list of other priorities is out there with ranking associated with it. I'm okay starting out with 3, and then if later on we decide, you know, something got done and staff is saying, well, we're kind of bored, we're ready to do something else, I think we can add some more at that time.
That sounds good. Adding more if we make progress on 3.
I don't think that, I'm not for that.
Okay. Do you have enough information, or would you like a vote?
No, I think we need a vote. If you want, I can restate what we've got written down here, if that would be helpful. You let me know what you're looking for to assist here.
What I heard tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, is housing, short-term rentals, some kind of economic development.
Beach safety, lifeguards.
And even
We could
zoning.
have 4, and I would be happy with that.
What?
If you added the beach safety and lifeguard at the bottom with 4,
I think
I
that
would be happy with that.
I, for one, would like more information about legality and liability of beach safety and our direction. I feel like we don't have enough information, and I could tell, you know, listening to other council members, that when questions were asked, there was, you know, things that we didn't think about.
My concern, sorry?
Go ahead.
My concern is that if it's not made a priority, it will not be addressed. And so the top 3 that seem to be sifting to the top for me are the short-term rental amendments, workforce housing, and beach safety lifeguards. And I would like to see, that's what I'm seeing. Because I said economic development with regard to housing, I think that would be.
Oh, I thought you said economic development director.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
But in light of Councilman Reeser's comments, yes, if the assistant city manager is really our economic developer, then that's not really, it doesn't appear necessary now that this other information has become clarified. You know, I would go for the workforce housing.
So just to clarify, just because I'm, you know, making sure we're tying everything up here, is that if you're saying that the housing, workforce housing is number 2, that is not housing at all price points, and that is not Overton development?
I think, and that's where I think having these specific objectives pigeonhole us too much. I think it really should be the housing, and I believe Overton is being looked at for workforce housing, potentially including low income and some market to make it work. And the infill of vacant lots, available lots, and I would also like to see trying to make just housing in general become more supportive of moderate priced homes by having duplex, quadruplex. We see that they can fit into our neighborhoods quite easily. We just need to get our zoning ordinance amended to allow it.
So you're adding zoning changes?
Well, no,
to
they're
your
all.
priorities?
No, they're all tied together. You won't get the workforce housing, I don't think, without zoning amendments. And the zoning amendments is undergoing, so. But no, my priorities would be, like I said, the beach safety, lifeguards, short-term rentals, and workforce housing.
So just to, yeah, so workforce housing, not all housing, not to make available housing. You only want staff to focus on workforce housing. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't know why we can't do all housing. Sorry, I know I was trying to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think when I stated, when I said about housing, I said if we can combine those together, I think that would make it easier. So just having it separate. That's why I said the Overton /workforce /all housing, because, I mean, it's all housing.
It all goes together.
Yeah, just put it all together. That's one.
Okay, I'm hearing housing and short-term rentals
And beach safety.
and beach safety.
Lifeguards.
So I see 3 there. Is that correct?
Pretty much.
As long, in my mind anyway, housing needs to include the code of ordinance update and the zoning ordinance update, which includes the master plan update, because I think some of the things that Mary's talking about, you can't just change the zoning ordinance without changing the master plan first.
Correct. Correct. And I did raise the need for addressing it for housing at our planning commission meeting this past week. So there will be slight updates. We don't need an overhaul. We just need some slight additions to support moving in that direction.
All right, so if I'm hearing number 1, STR amendment, number 2, housing, workforce housing, Overton development, code enforcement, zoning ordinance, master plan update, and then 3, beach safety /lifeguard. Is that what I'm hearing?
And I would be open to putting some form of lifeguards even on a ballot. So everybody in the community can weigh in and vote.
So, because this is going to be, I guess, if this is a priority, and I will be hoping to get a motion, is that we do definitely need to schedule time for the city attorney to come down and discuss, and in confidence with the council, on some of the items that have been brought up by council members tonight.
Agreed.
So that's a process that, again, I know people think that we're stalling, but unfortunately, we're not running a business, we run a government, and government says if you're going to offer that service, you have to offer it, you don't phase it in. You say you're going to do it, you got to do it.
And that's why I said we need more information.
Okay. All right, so, just to restate, I've got number 1 is STR amendment. Number 2, pardon this, but housing development, workforce housing development, Overton, code of ordinances, update, zoning ordinance, master plan. That's number 2. And then number 3, beach safety /lifeguards. Those are the 3 priorities that I'm understanding. Is that where everybody's at? So,
I believe so.
okay. See, that wasn't so hard. So then I just need a motion to kind of put those together, or at least get council to vote on those, and then we'll come back with some estimated costs and get that in the budget. As well as set the other things up with, the other steps for meeting with the attorney.
So I'll make a motion
Okay.
to give staff the 3 priorities for the fiscal year 2024-25. Number 1 is short-term rental ordinance update. Number 2, housing, including Overton and other changes as needed to support housing. And number 3, beach safety /lifeguards.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
I just sat quiet and you guys combined my 2, made it into 1. Perfect.
Okay, moving on. Oh, wait.
Nope.
The city council will be asked to consider adoption of resolution 2024-16, a resolution amending the prices of the 3-year beach parking sticker. Kate.
Okay, this one's pretty quick. We have not updated the multi-year pass since 2017. And really, once you start to distribute that multi-year pass, you're not going to be able to adjust those prices. Looking around and looking at the last time we adjusted those, We are proposing to go to $100 the first year, $90 the second year, and $80 for the final year. We do know that already with the beach fund, we are seeing with the number of the beach enforcement attendants and other things, that we're drawing down a little bit on those revenues and would like to get them bumped up a little bit more. Again, if you remember from your beach stickers, this kind of goes back to when we first started doing beach parking, and this was a way to support the officers, the seasonal officers that we would have out there, as well as the beach cleanings. So as part of that, city property owners get 2 free stickers depending on the formula we have adjusted. So that would still go forward, but this is our opportunity before we start issuing those 3-year multi-stickers to adjust the price. And that's all that's being asked tonight.
And where will that revenue go?
It goes into the beach parking fund.
Got it.
I would move to adopt Resolution 2024-16, a resolution amending the prices of the 3-year beach parking sticker.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? The motion passes. And finally, public comment. Citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. You have up to 5 minutes.
Hello again. I have one question for you guys, just for clarification of my own. You guys were going to count, or we're going to vote on 3 priorities, is that correct?
On what?
3 priorities
Yes.
for the
But this-
upcoming year?
Public comment for items not on the agenda.
Oh, so I was just, okay, so I can't ask my question then?
This is time for items, to talk about items that were not on the agenda. That's right.
Ask it after. Okay, I will ask it after. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Nancy Nat, 125 Elkenberg. Hiring objectives was not on the agenda. If we have people who are, say, in the school, already been vetted through the school district, like Sam, who could potentially, because she would like to be part of your 3rd priority, that would save time. I'm just throwing it out there in terms of the whole process of vetting employees. So a lot of local people here who have wanted to jump on board for priority 3 have already been vetted. So I'm just saying that as a time, we're talking about time frames and everything else. And the next topic is called collaboration. Community collaboration with city staff, I think, for priority 3 would be very helpful. I think if both teams could get together and work together to come up with a plan, that we could save a lot of time. And we all have our own specialties. We have human resource people. We have all different types of people that can come together to get this moving along and actually form some alliances within our cities, between our city staff and our community. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just got a quick question, a couple of comments. Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. Mayor, can I ask a point of inquiry on a recommendation from one of the council? I don't know if I can do that.
What is it concerning?
It was concerning, I clearly asked a question on, was the request to expand this the area in the CBD area, the social district, and I think Councilman Jeff stated no, it was just the CBD area.
You know what?
I think I'm meeting
That
up my
was
time.
on the
I just want to.
agenda. So after the meeting, you can
So can I get my time back then? Because one of the council person included an area recommended area outside of. Once I got clarity, I heard something different. That's why I want a point of inquiry.
Right, this was on the agenda, but
Okay,
after the
okay.
meeting, you can talk to staff. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah. All right, can I redeem my time?
What do you want to ask? What's your topic?
What's the new one?
No, I just want to make the point. I'll just move on from there. I'll ask later. I'll ask on the point of inquiry. I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to, this is dear to me. A few years ago, I was able to coordinate, organize a march with some local church pastors and church members, and the march was entitled or called the Preservation of Life. And we were part of the 4th of July parade a few years ago. We wore shirts that had Preservation of Life. We handed out flyers that urged residents to get involved, and you know, it dealt with some of the issues that our families are facing, our young people are facing, and that was very important to me to try to get out in front, to try to push some support to help our residents. And you know, someone came up tonight and talked about what hurt them, or what you know, was heartbreaking to them. What's heartbreaking to me as a bishop, as a resident in this community, is when I come here and I see the passion for items that fall under the preservation of life, and you get the residents coming out, and that's all fine and dandy. But when it comes to other areas that fall under what I believe fall under preservation of life, it saddens me when I don't see that same passion from the residents, and I don't see that same concern to meet the need or to meet the request from the council. That bothers me as a bishop. And I say that because I was in the library on last week, the week before, and there was a homeless person with all his life belongings with him in the library. And I'm not sure if this council really understands that we have a growing population of homeless people. That includes our young people, students. And so, yeah, you know, it bothers me when I sit here and I hear people passionately talk about things that benefits their businesses, and have nothing against these things. They help the local business. I see the council bend over backwards to really support them. I mean, that's all fine and dandy. I think that should take place. But I want to see that same drive and passion from the council and from the residents when we talk about people that are being misplaced. Kids that have to try to study under these kind of conditions. That bothers me as a bishop. And I don't see that. I haven't heard it. We set all these different priorities, which is fine, but it seems like we've thrown away things. All these things to me fall under preservation of life. And I think we should have that same drive and concern as a community to help the needy, to make quality of life better for everybody in this community, and give everybody an opportunity to experience the greatness of this city. And frankly, I don't like, and I'm get accused of this, people say I'm pointing fingers. No, I'm passionate just like everybody, but I'm passionate to help everybody, not to help a few business owners. I'm passionate about helping everybody, not just myself, everybody. And I would like to see that same concern from the residents, from the business owners. Have the business owners come out and talk about how important it is for housing. George said it right. If you get families in here, it's going to resolve a lot of issues. It also will help the businesses. So I think, again, I'm just saying the same thing now. I think we need to have that same concern for the preservation of life, preserving life, making life, the quality of life better for everybody in this community. Diversity is being kicked to the back. We're losing diversity in South Haven. We're losing diversity.
A few months ago, you and I talked, and I said I would meet with you about homelessness and housing, and we were going to meet at the library, and then you couldn't meet with me. Feel free to reschedule.
Yeah,
and I will meet
I'm
with
not
you because
sure.
I'm passionate about housing and homelessness too.
Okay. And I'm willing to do that. I am being stretched thin for stuff with the local church
I
as
know
a
you're
bishop.
busy.
but I am making myself available for issues that I think are very important to people in this city. I'm not against any of these things. Somebody said I was against lifeguards. I'm not against that. I think we ought to be, just like we're required to be physically responsible, I think we ought to
Your
be
time's
physically
up.
responsible for every decision we make.
Your time's up. Call me anytime. I would love to meet with you. Any other comments?
I'm Brian Adler, 533 Quaker Street, and I've spent a little time looking through the website that you provide, and in that process, I used to be in a planning commission years ago, and I'm not looking for a job. But in that process, I couldn't find anything that talks about current street projects or going forward, what's going on. 2018 was one listed, 2019 was one listed, we're in 24. So I made a pretty good effort at looking at all the different blue highlights that you can link to go look at a document. So the reason I'm bringing that to the forefront for me, when we had the high water levels, we had a few streets closed down here by the river, and so that forced everybody to go down North Bailey if you wanted to get out to the north end there. North Bailey is in terrible shape. I don't know if any of you ever drive down there, but, and it's even worse right now, of course, coming out of winter, what mild winter you had. Didn't get a lot of damage, but it's still in bad shape. So I'd like to see some stuff on what's going on in the city if we're looking forward. I know that you own your streets. It's not a county. It's not the state's objective. And I know from previous work in another planning area, we spent our money on engineering, and then we went for the grants. If you had your engineering done and you used your money, your revenue side of it, then that counted towards the grant. Oftentimes, you only needed to provide 15% to get an 85% grant to fix a road, a street. We were pretty successful in a small village at keeping that done, and we owned our streets like you do with not near the revenue, especially with all your high-end housing that you have now. The fact that you won't have any. And when I looked at that property out there that you were talking about redoing, and you've talked a little bit about it, I see nothing in there for electric cars. So if you're going to do this housing project and the government's going to force us to go to electric cars, you're going to have to put in a master plan to have a place to charge them. And that's, you know, lots of stuff. So just think about those kind of things. But please update the website in relation or give a link, some way to get there to see what you're going to do with your streets. I mean, I know you're doing one or two over here with some water lines and sewers and whatnot. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trevor Brooks, 559 Phoenix. I just want to challenge you guys. Excuse me. You know, it was interesting listening to the priorities conversation and how that went. And I usually, when it comes to challenges and problems, I start with, you know, the principles, or first principles thinking, tear it down to the base, and then grow from there. I heard the number one problem in this town is the lack of resources. Maybe Cape probably could use a couple more employees. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, city manager's comments.
Thank you. Just briefly, I did want to thank my staff that really put a lot of thought into just their analysis of some of the things we talked about tonight. It takes a team to make this city kind of operate at the level that it does for such a small area. So I can't do this without the team, many of whom that you saw behind me tonight. So I think that talks to the level of their commitment to this community, as well as the professionalism that you see that make up this workforce. Two, we are still doing that transition from wintertime to springtime. So some of you, especially maybe George over on the north side, we've started to lay down the beaches and get things started. So that there's a lot of things that you're not seeing that are just kind of clicking along. And I appreciate the comments and the discussion tonight on priorities. I'm really, really excited to see how well this council is discussing and having those conversations. And there's a lot of commonality here that I'm hearing, so I'm very pleased with your work tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. City Council comments, and we'll start with Letitia.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I was going to say my famous words, no comment, but thank you, everyone, for coming out.
George.
I'd also like to thank everyone for their feedback tonight. And again, thank you to Heather Johnson for her work on the lifeguard program. The one thing I'll mention is we have, as a city council, a lot of times, we have to balance all the stuff that we want to do with the cost. And we can add more resources to city staff, but again, that's going to cost more. And we just have to find that right balance. And I think, according to Kate, and I agree, that I thought we did a good job today of trying to strike that right balance. That's it.
Thank you. Joe.
My only comment is, I'm glad we came up with final priorities. I agree with them. I hope we can move quickly. I think a lot of residents are frustrated about short-term rentals in particular because it's taken so long. But I feel like we're making progress behind the scenes, and I'm looking forward to it. And housing is so important in this community. We can't have jobs without housing. We can't have housing if we don't have jobs. They all go together. So I am optimistic that we're going to make that happen. So thanks for everybody's input. And I'm really appreciative of so many residents giving their input in this tonight, especially, including Heather. But everyone gets involved, and that's so important in our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Mary.
I just want to echo the thanks of everybody who contributed to tonight's discussions. It was very beneficial and productive. A couple of things from people who have contacted me over the last week. There's quite a big bump in the road in Broadway near Church, and I was asked when that might be repaired. It would be nice to have that fixed before a lot of traffic starts. With the leaf pickup, I understand, I'm guessing our equipment couldn't work, and Best Way is doing that, but I know Best Way requires the use of a bin, and that's only for residential, so, and they don't pick it up off of the ground. I was wondering how that is being executed for Best Way to pick up the yard waste that usually is picked up by the curb. With regard to getting ready for summer, big kudos. I see the crosswalk signs coming out, and I really appreciate the city putting those out. I think it does have a calming effect on traffic, and I have personally witnessed where in one area cars never stopped, and now with those signs out, they go slower and they actually stop. So thank you for getting those out so early in the season. With regard to homelessness, I do want to give a shout out to We Care. I know they're an organization that does help, especially with unexpected homelessness. And they work with the community, with many churches. So we are very blessed to have so many caring people in our community. At Planning Commission this past week, the chairman inquired about the integrity of our code of ordinances for trespass, just with the national trend and hearing some of the horror stories with trespass and squatters, and just trying to make sure that our codes are more friendly for ensuring homeowners' integrity for their property, probably more towards the end of the summer, so that might be something that we might want to look at. I know it's not a priority, but it's something just to kind of keep in the back of our heads as we're going through different ordinances for safety. So,
just to break in there, in talking with Dana, we hope to have that Broadway section over by Church repaired in the next 3 weeks. As to the whole Best Way versus the city pickup, the city picks up leaves at every property in the city limits. Although if you're on a private drive, we need to have some kind of agreement so we don't tear up your driveway and have to fix it. But And yes, we have 2 Vector trucks. One was having electrical issues and one had to have the liner replaced, so those were down. If we can get them fixed, we'll put them back out there. But in the meantime, you can either leave the leaves there, or if you want to bundle them up, then yeah, we can get some better information as to what Best Way does. So that's something we're working on this week.
Wonderful, thank you.
Wendy?
I didn't really have anything, but when Bishop Wilkins spoke, I thought he touched on a lot of important points as usual, and I am always thinking up here, like I know we went through the diversity, equity, and inclusion training, and then that was very internal focused, but a lot of it was talking about looking at all of our documents, looking at our master plan, updating our zoning ordinances so they are actively inclusive. So I feel like it's just important for us as a council to keep that in mind as we do all these things every day, that we should always have that kind of DI lens so that we are being inclusive and keeping our community diverse, because it is important. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Jeff?
Due to the hour, I'll just say no comment.
I want to thank everyone who came. I know that lifeguards is a very emotional topic, and I want to thank the people who came tonight who actually lost family members by drowning. And when we talk about costs, we're also thinking about the cost of lives. So it is a very emotional subject for all of us. And it is hard for us to make priorities when we're thinking about lives at stake. So I want you to realize that it is very difficult for us. And we want to make sure we're doing an excellent job. And we want to make sure we have adequate information and that we're making hiring choices according to the law, and that we're making sure that we are being excellent. So thank you for that. On a lighter note, the Senior Services Gala fundraiser is Saturday, so I hope to see you there. Tickets are still available, so that's a great way to support our senior center and our senior citizens. So that's all from me, and if there's no further business, we're adjourned. Thanks again.